Do you have to center yourself before you record? Oh shit! Hold on. Go ahead.
Well, I have to turn my mic on if I record. Sometimes.
Because I noticed that sometimes, like, I'll see you right before I press record, you'll, like, look up to the ceiling.
Yep.
And then come back down. And in my head, I always think about the True Romance scene with the dude Balky from Perfect Strangers, where he's like, Elliot, your motivation is to stay out of jail.
Yeah, sometimes. Depends on a mental state.
Yeah. I wanted to say something first and foremost. I figured out something about my feelings about the boys.
Oh,
so I've been
for
talking,
this season
or
in general?
For this season.
Okay.
So I've been talking about
now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And I've been talking about the boys a bit for the past couple of weeks and how it's like it just hasn't been sitting right with me. It feels one-sided. It feels biased. It feels like they're trying to make a political statement. And then I got to thinking about, like, well, why does this bother you? Right? Like, because I don't really care. Like, and it's definitely a left bias thing, right? They're pointing out January 6th. They're pointing out the fake influctuation of Antifa. Like, it's definitely a left wing bias. And I'm like, well, why is this bothering me? Because I'm not a right wing person.
Right.
I figured it out. I think I figured it out. What bothers me about it is The Boys, for all of its seasons, has been a statement on how corporations affect America.
Yes.
And specifically American politics. So Vought itself is a huge corporation. It owns the superheroes. It makes the superheroes bend to a certain will of the Vought experience. It's also tied into this drug, which ties into the pharmaceutical industry, which ties back into... And then, as a result, you get this... a lot of jabs at the right-wing side of things with totalitarianism and things of that nature in regard to the superheroes, right? Sexism, et cetera, et cetera. That's definitely inflated, but that's the statement, right? And it's like, that's good fun.
Yeah.
And on the left side, you had things like when they went to Disney World or whatever, and it was like the woke walk and chicken thighs matter and all this kind of shit. Like, and it's like, well, that's how the corporations are affecting, like, still movies and having a go at the left.
Yeah.
Right. But it was all sort of a balanced, not objective, but fair, jab at how
social commentary,
corporate interest affects politics.
Yeah,
right?
instead of picking on the sides, you're picking up like, oh, those are the symptoms. Like, look at the real problem.
The folks that play the two sides against the middle, and that's what's missing for me in this latest season. Is
kind of lost the point.
Yeah, now it feels like you're part of just one of those corporations.
Yeah.
But that just clicked for me this week, which I'm happy about. I went on a rant this week also on a Zoom meeting.
About what?
So let me talk about this for just a second. On Patreon, I do a Zoom meeting once a month that I actually quite enjoy. It's for the top tier, and which might be changing soon. But on there, I just get a couple drinks, open it up, I share a link, and whoever wants to jump on can jump on, engage in a conversation, and whatever. But sometimes, like, I think I talk to these folks like I've known them my whole life, like we're all on the same page. And I think because I share so much, then I'm like, well, they know so much about me that I can just be me. I'm not at a job interview.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But sometimes I'm all the way me, and I turn up. And then...
How many drinks?
And when I'm done turning up, I stop. And I'm almost waiting for, like, the laughter and thunderous applause. But sometimes it's just quiet. And then I'm like, oh, God. Like, that, what is that shit? Like, thou dost profess too much or whatever. Because, like, I went on this whole thing about... and I actually think that the point I was making wasn't coming across necessarily clearly, which I have noticed from time to time. I noticed it in that music discussion I had with you when I listened back to it. I was like, man, somehow I wasn't able to accurately say exactly what I felt about it, which I usually feel like I'm generally pretty good at. But this one, I was talking about my interactions with conventions, right? And I was talking about how for me, my dealings with a convention now, with most conventions, actually, I can say this, with all conventions, is purely business. It's purely business. Now, that doesn't mean that some personal things don't come out of it, right? If I get to spend time with folks after the show, or I haven't seen somebody in years and they come up and it's like, oh shit, man, good to see you, dab them up, hug them up, and, see you at the bar later, or whatever the case may be. Doesn't mean that those things don't happen. They do happen.
But the point of you going to the convention,
me going,
you're not going to see friends.
No, that's a bonus.
Yeah, that's a bonus. You're going to for business. Specifically,
because if all of those people, right, all of those people were coming into town for like a clown convention, I wouldn't go to the clown convention.
Yeah, just see him. Yeah, no.
But I would say, hey, while you guys are in town, I have a few Joker figures. You're welcome to celebrate a little bit of a clown with me at my home, and I would open up my home to them, but I wouldn't go, right?
Right.
And I'm not going to the convention to buy anything, right? And I'm not going to the convention to rub elbows with none of these fucking schmucks. I can guarantee you that. I'm not going for exclusives. I'm not going for any of that. I'm going for business.
Makes sense.
And I was trying to illustrate that, and I think it may have come. I don't know, but
I also think that
were you there?
I was.
Okay.
I was on the call. But from my perspective, right? You've had your issues with the people involved on all the levels of all these things and all that, and it's cool to hear that perspective. But like I've never even been to a convention yet,
right?
So Baltimore would be the first one that I even go to, and I don't have all that baggage.
Sure,
absolutely. I'm just excited to go, but like,
which is great.
Sometimes I guess when you relay your story, it can kind of make you. I'm just like, oh, should I even go to this thing? So it's like one of that, like, and I know like your experience and your interaction with that whole situation is yours. Yeah, but
and I'm still going.
Right. Yeah, of course. Exactly.
And even if
there's just that, like as a
maybe I'm ants at a picnic.
One of the sea of many, it's just like, well, do I need to be sympathetically at arms?
No,
whatever. But like, of course, that's not the case
at all. And even if I wasn't working I would still come through at night. Like for this, I would still come through. I would still go up there like, hey man, Saturday night I'm gonna come up there. I'm gonna be at this bar if you want to kick it. But anyway, I feel like like it may have come across like, well, it's just money for me. And it's true to some extent. And there, I think people were jumping in like trying to clarify for because it might have been coming across a way.
Yeah.
But it is true to some extent. I'm being honest about it.
Yeah.
But like if it was just money for me, purely, I would drive down that motherfucker in the morning. I'd work my table and I'd leave that motherfucker at night, come home to my bed not for free, but for a budgeted price that I've already factored into my life. And then I would wake up the next morning, drive down that motherfucker, work it, come home. But I'm not. I'm getting a hotel room. I'm going to hang out at the spot. I'm going to hang out with the people because that is also important for me.
Yep.
But in terms of me actually attending that event, it's business. And I want to specify, I think for the average Joe that's not doing business with them, it's a great time.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic time. And they should definitely go.
Like I don't go to cons anymore, but towards the end of my con career, con circuit, like it became the other side for me. I went only to see friends. Like I stopped going to the convention itself. I stopped paying for the tickets. I don't go inside the convention, but I would go to the convention center to see friends only because I don't give a fuck about the convention.
That's what I would do if I wasn't working it.
Right. So like for you, it's like that, but with selling stuff, you're only going for this purpose. Otherwise, you're not going.
Yeah.
It just happens to be a nice, convenient location for you to do what you want to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do something. Like I'm trying to get a spot, maybe at a bar, see if I can rent a room or something and just have for exclude, have a little.
At a rest in TFCon that one time. Then we I felt like we met up at a place.
There was a bar there
Because I remember I stopped by after work to say hi, and then.
Oh yeah, there was a hotel room party.
Yes, yeah.
That was Hanny's. But anyway, so like, I don't know. Sometimes shit can come across accurate or inaccurate. But I mean, I did make a point. I was like, look, you have to also understand. For 9 years of my life, 5 or 6 of those years, my family vacationed to Transformer conventions.
Yeah.
In order to help me build what I was building. That means no beach. That means no Disney World. That means no family, fun shit for the kids. You're going to come, sit at this fucking booth. We tried to do, like, visit an aquarium or shit while we were out there. Yeah. You know what I mean? We tried.
Yeah.
But for, 8-9 years of my kid's life and my wife's life, like, they sacrificed for me to go to these fucking shows. And then for me to big up these shows, for those shows sometimes to not give me the same, in my opinion, extend that same love back, which is fine. That's their right to do so. But now I am playing differently also.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was an interesting conversation, but I just know that sometimes when I like finish and I'm like, and I have that, like, because sometimes in my mind when I'm thinking and I'm in it, when I'm really in the mix of making a point, my brain starts working differently, and I start seeing the last thing I'm gonna say. I start like around the middle. I start seeing the last sentence, and I'm like, oh, wait till you close with this, and then I close with it, and I was like, ha. Is this thing on? So yeah, I also want to be clear, like, it doesn't affect the common person at all. Like the person, the attendee, the fan, like, by all means, go, buy toys, meet people, hang out. Like, when else would you get, like you said, you haven't had the opportunity. When else would you get the fucking opportunity? Like, it has nothing to do with the fans. Yeah. It has nothing to do with the community. My interaction with that place is purely to do with the business arrangement that I have with that place now.
Right. It just to me, it just seems it's a perspective, point of view. Your experience has shaped your point of view. Mm-hmm. Most people have not, will never have those experiences. So yeah, we can listen to the story and it's interesting, but like
can't relate.
Yeah, I can't really, and I'm also a whole lot to contribute.
Yes, and I'm not asking. Also, I'm not asking, and I never want to make it seem like, come on, guys, let's not do this. I'm going, and I'm trying to do business. So if you're interested, please come.
And do some business.
Yeah, and do some business. It makes me think of a True Romance line. That little whore figured out she's going to do some business and planned a massacre. Snatched my narcotics. Would have got away with it too, but your son, fuckhead that he is, left his driver's license in a dead man's hand. So yeah. Anyway, that's my bit about it. And I wasn't trying to trash that business either.
Right.
Because I'm just clear. I'm just clear about what it is, and I don't have any disillusions as to what it is. And I don't think they do either. And I'm at peace with that shit. Mm-hmm. But it's just something that was like, I was like, oh man.
Conventions are only there to do business too.
Yeah, so I came upstairs, and my wife always leaves. My wife leaves. I usually do it from 4:30 to 6. My wife is out at 5:59 and 59 seconds because she has to start cooking. Right. So she goes upstairs and starts cooking, and it usually gives me a little leeway to kind of wrap it up, have a couple closing thoughts and shit, and that works. But when I came upstairs, I was like, how'd that go? And she was like, well, you turned up. And I was like, God damn it. And I think I'm super conscious about it now, because there was one that we had where Facundo, who I think the world of, absolute gentleman, and I think he's Argentinian by way of Germany, and then now back in Germany, or some, don't quote me on that, but has some sort of connections, similar to my wife's family. And we got into this discussion about the importance of some of these Transformer characters and their Japanese roots or exposure versus some characters that got just strictly European exposure versus, et cetera, et cetera. And I turned up, but not because of any issue that I have with Facundo. You know, I love Facundo, but I'm into the topic now, and I fucking turn up. You know, like when I'm excited about some shit. And afterward, you know, he hit me up and he was like, "Hey man, like, you know, I love what you do, et cetera, but I may not be I don't like getting yelled at. I don't, you know." And I was like, "Dude, I am so fucking sorry." You know, because I don't think of it that way. I don't think of me yelling at you.
Yeah, you just
I'm yelling about the topic to you.
Yes,
you know.
Yep.
But that's just, I don't know if it's culture. I don't know what it is, but
and also like a layer of separation over the phone instead of in person. There's just context that you will miss. Like the more steps away from in person, the more mixed up you're gonna be.
Yeah,
that's why you have a hard time with text.
Yeah, I'm terrible.
That's like
terrible
really
at text and reading text and understanding text. I always think motherfuckers trying to get at me. You know, I'm always like, what the fuck does that mean? LOL. You know, loss. Is that what it means? But I think because of that, and like I was super self-conscious about that, and like regretful, you know, because it's the last thing that I wanted it to be interpreted as. I think that now I'm always like trigger shy, you know, and like, fuck, like, did I do too much? Did I hurt someone's feelings? Did I offend someone? Did I, you know, because it's not really my intention. I just fucking, you know, I'm animated. I'm boisterous in that way, I guess, you know. Anyway, Jordan is joining us today.
Hello.
Pinkerton is still on assignment. We're hoping to have him back at some point. He told us, gave us fair and forewarning that July was going to be a rough one.
Yeah. Towards the end of the year will be better.
Yeah.
Like in the fall and something.
Yeah. Oh, you know, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. And we almost were able to make today possible. But I'll say this too. Today I am recording a new podcast this afternoon.
Another new one.
That'll be monthly. And I'm going to try to get a few under my belt before I launch it.
So you have some cushion.
Yeah, but it's with Sony, or TM Reviews, as you may know him, talking about YouTube and our experiences with YouTube, challenges of YouTube, shit about creating shit in the YouTube space. And then we're also planning on having other YouTubers on to talk to them, some of which I may not care for the way that they do business, but we're just going to have that conversation, you know?
No, that's cool.
Yeah. It should be good. It should be good as long as the schedules. And that's why now any show that I do, I get a couple under my belt just to see if this is going to work.
Like 8 weeks?
Yeah, well, so I mean, the thing is I rely on people for a lot of content, right? I rely on my wife, I rely on you and Pinkerton, and I rely on the backup crew for Nerd Rage. I rely on Jisk and Robert. I rely on Sam for Shop Talk. I rely on Casey and Gomez for Kitchen. Like, I rely on a lot of people. So time and effort and experience has taught me it's best to see if something is truly feasible before committing to it.
It's not also nothing like 8 weeks. There's nothing wrong with making miniseries.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Just because you can't talk about it every month doesn't mean you don't have something valuable to say for 4 months.
That's true. That's a fair point. Something I might consider. Whew. Okay, so with that, Jordan, you got your coffee way first.
All right.
But I'm going to let you go first, too, because you are a guest. Okay. More so.
All right. Well, it's been, about a month or so. So let's see. I have a small list here.
Nice. Everyone's getting this notes, man.
Yeah.
Went saw Jaws in the movie theater. They put it back out for
really?
a week.
So, how was it?
I mean, it's
on the big screen.
It.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a great movie. So, my son also he's 8, also a fan of the movie.
Oh, really?
So I took him. That's why we went. I took him so he could see it.
I don't think my kids have ever seen it yet.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten to that yet.
Well, like I can't.
There's a lot of stuff with Jada.
Yeah, I can't get my daughter to watch it. You know.
Yeah.
And because that movie makes people feel a way, even if they've never seen it.
Yeah.
You know, just because the idea of it is scary, because it could.
Yeah,
happen.
I mean, it does happen.
It does. I mean,
we had some this year.
Yeah. And dude, to this day, that part where they're arguing at that like town hall meeting, and he scratches down the chalkboard. I can't. But when I know that scene is, I'll leave the room. Like, that sound design is so fucking perfect.
So good.
Yeah.
But what a character. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Quint, anytime he's on screen is.
Yeah.
I can't take my eyes off him.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, it's just a great movie. Fun to see it in the movie theater again. I think I've seen it in the theater once before, a long time ago. I don't know.
But it was like the original Blockbuster, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with them. You know, the kids, sharks, the whole bit. So I was obsessed with Jaws. And it's funny, as a kid watching it, the anticipation and anxiety of the first one didn't really affect me as a kid. The third one was my favorite, even though it's definitely the worst one, because it was just more shark fun.
Right.
It was more shark to see. It was.
Do you watch The Trench?
As a kid, the third
And The
one,
Trench too? I like them. I just want some shark fun.
Yeah. So
I would watch at least
as
the
a
first
kid,
Trench.
the third one was probably my favorite, also because it was accessible. It was on TV. It would come on USA or TBS. Or
yeah, and it was at an aquarium.
Yeah.
It's like this. You know, I was like, I go to the aquarium.
And it was just
and then the fourth one was actually the one that scared me the most as a kid.
Wow.
And it was just one scene. It was the opening scene.
Oh, where
he gets his arm,
Yeah.
and like the blood starts coming through.
that's the only good part of the movie.
The coat. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean, except for the fact where the shark sets a trap for him. It's ridiculous.
Do you know that do you remember that there was two endings to that movie? We've talked about it before.
Yeah, there's one where
Mario Van Peebles lives, and one where he dies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what
I don't think I've ever seen one where he doesn't live though, so I don't know how.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of that guy, because there's definitely maybe it's not a Mandela effect. I mean, you keep talking. I'm gonna.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was cool. And then my son and I had another adventure. We went and saw monster trucks here.
Real monster trucks?
Right here in town. They were.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised that they have monster trucks around here.
I mean, not like a huge show or anything. It was, they had 5 monster trucks and like two little kid monster trucks, and
kid monster trucks.
Yeah, they're just little smaller monster trucks that children drive. And
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, but that was fun. You know, it's a small area that they had to work in. So like, you know, you've been to the fairgrounds before, so they have the bleacher area, and so the whole show takes place right in front of that bleacher area.
I mean, that's nice and close.
So yeah. Not a bad seat in the house.
Yeah, the truck flips over and
right. But that was fun. You know, I mean, doing jumps and nose wheelies and whatever. My son is, you know, having a monster truck moment, so he was all about it. I think we're gonna go try to see the bigger show down in Virginia. They're gonna have the Monster Jam thing.
That's cool.
That'll be around his birthday. So
real quick, I'm gonna interject. In the sequel's original theatrical version, scientist Jake, played by Mario Van Peebles, is eaten by the shark after force-feeding it an electrical device. The Brody clan, Mother Ellen and son Mike, then shock it to the surface and impale the beast on the boat's broken bowsprit. I don't know that word. It rips the boat into pieces as it dies, forcing Ellen, Mike, and Michael Caine's pilot Hoagie into the water. If that ending doesn't sound familiar, that's because it now only tends to appear on TV airings. This Jaws the Revenge finale wasn't well received following the movie's release in the U.S., especially as viewers had grown to like Jake. Universal thus ordered hasty reshoots for foreign releases, and in the alternate finale, the shark suddenly explodes when pierced by the bowsprit, with the footage of its exploding body sinking beneath sinking being recycled from the original Jaws. Yep. While Jake is suddenly discovered alive but wounded in the aftermath. This version of Jaws the Revenge is the one that made it to all subsequent home releases. There are other subtle changes between the two, including a little bit more gore in Jake's attack in the original ending, or extended shots of the shark stalking the boat. For some reason, the original theatrical ending doesn't appear as an extra on the Blu-ray or DVD versions, though it's easy to find on YouTube now.
That's interesting.
Wow.
I knew I wasn't going crazy.
So more people have seen the second ending.
Yeah, more people have seen the one that he's seen.
Yeah, global release and home video. So you only got to see the original ending if you saw it when it came out in the U.S. at the time.
Yes. And I must...
The original ending sounds better.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I liked the original ending better. It was because it was more shocking and scary, and I didn't understand why the shark exploded for no seemingly no reason. Huh. Good to know. Huh. The more you know.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So we, the family, we started and watched the entire run of The Acolyte. And
I just need to do that.
Here we go.
Yeah.
I said need is a strong word.
Yeah.
The power of, how many are in your family? 4? The power of 4.
Yeah. It was slightly better than I thought it was going to be.
From my ramblings, probably.
Yes. Yeah. But it, sort of just more in the noise.
Yeah.
But it was fine. It wasn't so good.
It was not so
no,
good.
But it was okay. It was
You thought it was so.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
So better than bad.
My kids liked it, but they're right at that age.
Right.
My wife liked it.
Oh, good.
So, I mean,
fun for the whole family.
Yeah. And it was fine.
Good. Good.
Sorry.
Good. I love that for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
My kids are done with it. Like they won't. If I was like, hey, we're gonna watch this because we're gonna have pizza or some shit, they'd be like, yeah, I'm in for the pizza and whatever it takes to get it. But like they're just done with Star. And they have been for some time,
right?
But they just don't give a fuck. They liked Rebels and they liked the animated stuff and they liked the Clone Wars. But I didn't make them watch Bad Batch, and by that point, they kind of lost interest in all of it. So,
yeah, I've part of me thinks my kids say they like Star Wars because I like it. Mm-hmm. Because if I just say, "Hey, you could watch a Star Wars," and they're just like, "Meh." So I mean, which is fine.
Yeah, absolutely,
I don't care one way or
absolutely.
I don't
absolutely.
Force my fandom on them.
My kids would rather watch Dance Moms.
Sure. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. My daughter just discovered that stupid show.
Yeah.
And I watched one episode with her, and I said, never again.
Yeah, I watched one episode with her, and I was like, "This is dumb."
Yeah.
Then 3 episodes later, I was like, "I hate that I'm watching this." And I know it's not good, but here I am, caught up in the drama.
Yeah. No.
Fucking Abby, that bitch.
Yeah. We watched one.
I can't. I fucking can't.
Oh, it's not
I get
good.
so
It's
angry
terrible.
when I watch most reality shows. If I have to sit for more than 10 minutes of it, I get physically fucking angry.
So let me explain. I had just Laura and I think we're supposed to do a podcast. I think Wine and Cheese, but we don't like to start that show too early because it involves drinking, and we don't. And she has the self-control to stop. I don't want to be turned up at 7 p.m. Trying to explain to my 8-year-old the subtleties of Mobb Deep. So we wait. So I'd finished all my work that I had to do for the day. Took a shower. I'd worked the night before, so I was a little tired. I was like, I'm just going to lay here on the couch for a bit. And the show happened to be on. Mm-hmm. And then before you knew it, I was like, oh, this lady's a fucking tyrant, this Abby. Mm.
And to be clear, I don't get so angry because of the drama or the characters. I get angry at the world for this existing as a form of entertainment, as a popular form of entertainment. I'm just like, humanity's worse for this.
Well, I've gotten into heated conversations with Laura. Laura did modern dance like her whole life. It's like her bag. She loves that shit. There's the reason why her legs look the way they do, to be honest with you, which is I'm here for it. But watching it, and one of my kids kind of played with it a bit. Actually, 2 of them, and I don't think it's for them. But like I had to have these conversations with Laura, like, man, like there's some weird sexual shit that they do to these children. That like I'm not I'm not buttoning my top button every chance I get. Do you know what I mean? Like I haven't tucked my shirt in years. But like, I'm like, man, like, I don't know how I feel about this. Like, why is she moving like that? It's this child.
And makeup and stuff.
Yeah, that.
And any kind of pageantry with underage people is just weird.
I went to, I think one of my kids, I don't want to say it like that. Leia had a dance recital and I went to it, as I would have if she continued. But her shit is different, right? She's like fucking 6 at the time. It's like, oh. But the kids that are like 15, 16, you could see men in the audience I'm sitting 8-10 rows back. You could see men in the audience just like looking away.
Yeah,
like no, man, I'm not looking at this.
Right.
Shit.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at whatever you're trying to do. I don't want to see it.
Yep.
My wife is able to completely separate it because she's not thinking sexually in the same regard. She's looking at fluidity of movement and how the body can shape and all that kind of stuff. And like, I'm like, look, I'm sure that shit is there, but let me tell you what else is there.
Yeah, what is also there? Yeah.
You know.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah, and I've talked about that here before, but like it is something that I do like. I'm like, man, like there's something that I think as a society almost we don't want to admit because it like almost to recognize it says something. But I feel like everybody recognizes it, but nobody really wants to talk about it out of the fear of the conversation. And
that's a lot of things.
Yeah, I agree. But when I saw fathers in front of me, like, oh hell no, like looking off to the left, looking off to the right, I was like, man, we all know it,
Yeah.
And shout out to the ones of us that don't want to keep looking. You know what I mean? They're like, man, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You got to look out for the guy who's on the edge of his seat.
Who's not there with family at all?
With his chin in his hands.
He just want to take it for himself.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Dance Moms is lit.
Yeah.
It's not. Don't watch it.
Contributing to degradation of society if you watch it.
Yeah, Jesus. As I said last time, we had made it through the Rocky movies. Now we've started the Creed movies.
Nice.
We're 2 out of 3.
Nice.
There's 3 of them?
I didn't know there was 3 either.
Yeah.
See?
I think to be a 4th.
Oh wow.
So yeah.
Hey, nothing.
Oh, maybe it'll be the best one.
Yep. Maybe.
Rocky 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they don't carry the full emotional weight, I think. But somebody who grew up with Rocky, watching those movies, they have that emotional attachment. For me, these movies are good. They're very well made. They get my kids pumped.
That's cool.
they want to box at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I remember those days.
So yeah, so I mean, they serve their purpose. They're fine. It's interesting to touch base with them again, having watched everything. Go through all of it.
Yeah. That's cool.
And this,
I love watching.
Yeah,
I love watching movies with my kids that are like high caliber. You know what I mean? And like just to see their reaction, especially Jane, my oldest, who's like, I have some shit in my notes from this past week, but where she's just like looking at me like, they used to make shit like this? Like, what the fuck happened to shit like this? I'm like, that's what I'm saying.
The right ideas.
It's not like, because I feel like, like I knew parents or whatever, not my dad was old as hell, but like other kids' parents, like moms or whatever, and they'd be like, you got to listen to this record, or, like, what do you know about Diana Ross? And I'm like, nothing, or like, or somebody else, what do you know about Pink Floyd? I'm like, nothing, and then as a kid, I'm like, man, I don't get it. And then when I got older, I was like, oh shit, no, I get it. I was just too young. There's some stuff that was old that just got played in my house that I had an appreciation for just because it was played all the time.
Yeah.
But like the shit that I didn't know. But nobody was in my ear like, hey man, check out Clockwork Orange. Hey man, check, you know what I mean? Nobody was in my ear with that shit. So like I didn't grow up with that. But like I'm experiencing it now with my kids a bit of like, hey, listen to this, let me show you this. And like some of the music, it's hit or miss.
Yeah.
But the movies hit every single, like I haven't played any like old kind of quote unquote classic 90s movie for my oldest and had her been like, not for me. She's always like, fuck man, like what the hell happened to Hollywood?
Yeah. It's interesting. I and in that same vein, even like old movies, I showed my son The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Oh shit,
old black and white movie.
I don't even know if I can handle that.
He loves it.
That's great.
I was shocked. I figured like, we'll give it a shot. I remember liking it as a kid. I remember they showed it on TV and they sent out 3D glasses and we could watch it in 3D and it didn't work. And
I'm gonna staple this thing to your chest, man. If you don't start getting close to it.
Jeez, I'm sorry.
Lapel mic.
But anyway, he loved it. He watches on his own. He shows his friends.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
great.
Really? I'm just, good Lord.
I remember there were these 3 3/4 5 POA Universal monster figures
That sounds familiar.
from like, and I think my mom used to be like a member at Pace, which was like a Costco of its day.
Oh yeah! Oh my god!
Right?
That just it just flashed me back to 1989.
And they
I haven't
had
thought
those,
about that in a long time.
and they had those figures there, and she got me one time, and like I think it was Dracula, and like, but there was like a Dracula and a mummy and a and like. There's something about getting those NECA figures even now that like scratches that itch for me in some way of those, like, because I always thought they were cool, but every time my dad would like rent me the actual like black and white movie, I'd be like, man, what the fuck? Where is it?
It's goofy.
Like, yeah, well, not only that, but I think even just as a kid, just being able to accept the black and white nature.
That's true.
It's like Stone Age shit. Now I can have more of appreciation for it. I feel like than a young kid. So it's big up to him.
Yeah, I was surprised, but he had similar reaction to Frankenstein. He liked Frankenstein, the original.
I like the De Niro one. I feel like it doesn't get a lot of fanfare.
De Niro?
Yeah, it came out shortly after. It was like Bram Stoker's Dracula, and then there was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Yeah,
And De Niro was Frankenstein.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I just didn't realize that.
100%. 100%.
Look at the range on that guy.
You're good. You're good, you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I got, I went last night and saw Deadpool.
Oh, so don't spoil. I'm going tomorrow morning.
I won't spoil anything, but
So good or okay? Oh.
Oh no.
No. It's a lot of cool moments and a lot of cool imagery and a lot of stuff that you're like, wow, they finally put that on screen. But the connective tissue in between is like, it's fine. It's fine.
They made it work.
Yes, they made it work. But the movie is a spectacle and worth seeing.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be just a fanfare.
Right.
See, I think I know that in my heart, but I want it to do something. Yeah, I want it to lay a brick, like a real brick in the road.
And it does a bit.
Okay.
It does a bit.
Because it breaks a lot of boundaries, right?
And maybe it does enough.
Okay. So, I'm seeing it tomorrow morning, I think.
Going with family?
Yeah, I might see it tonight. You want to go tonight?
What? We can go tonight?
I think we can.
Yeah. I saw it last night, so I mean, it's.
I don't know if there's going to be tickets or.
I guess we can see they're sold out. I'm down to go tonight.
I have to go.
You're going to go tonight and tomorrow?
No.
Oh.
One or the other.
Are you going to go by yourself?
Yeah. I don't give a fuck. I love going to movies by myself. I know that's weird to a lot of people, but I actually really enjoy it.
I'd rather go with you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Because I'm not out with people around, kind of, you know me.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to affect anything because this is a big movie. I'm just saying that as a forewarning.
As spoilers and stuff, you mean?
No, that I expect there to be a lot of people.
Okay, let me get back to you. I will go watch it with you either tonight or tomorrow. I promise.
Okay, all right.
One or the
you
other.
don't have to promise, but just let me
I'm
know.
just saying, because sometimes I'm like wishy-washy about stuff and then I don't go. That's how I'm just now I try to make sure to tell people that I would definitely do something. So
but I don't feel like I actually don't feel like you're wishy-washy, to be honest. I feel like sometimes you are well, this is a good conversation. So I don't feel like you're wishy-washy at all. But sometimes I think that I'm like I'll be like, "Hey man, we're going to have hot dogs, hamburgers." You're like, "I don't eat hamburgers." All right. They'll be there in case you change your mind. I'm not going to change my mind. All right. You're not tempted to not come because there's hamburgers there, right?
Right.
I was in until you said fucking hamburgers, man. Fucking squash meat. Fuck
I'm a
that.
fucking weirdo. I know.
Sometimes I just feel like you plant your foot into a stance and then there's no room to pivot.
Yes.
Sometimes I feel like
that sounds like me.
And sometimes I feel like, man, I feel like if Joe would just think about the hamburger family, see if it really affects him.
But it was. I wasn't able to get tickets at Warehouse, but there was a lot of tickets at Regal. So
Regal's not bad.
No, it's fine. They've done a good job.
Yeah, the little refurbishing.
I was shocked. I walked in. There's like a whole upper area now.
Yeah, and the VIPs. Did you try the VIP on for size?
No,
it's bloody something else. I'd say.
I mean, I may as well have. The ticket was.
Yeah, I know. It's
very expensive.
Fucking ridiculous.
$28. $28 or something. I was like, good God.
Yeah, almost close.
But yeah, it's worth seeing.
Okay, all right.
For the spectacle, if nothing else.
Who's the villain? Or is that a big spoiler?
I don't think it is because I'd never heard of them. Nova something. Charles Xavier's twin sister. I hope that's not a spoiler. It wasn't a spoiler for me because I'd never heard of this.
I feel like I know that Charles has a sister.
It's Nova something or something.
Prime.
Nova. Yeah.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
But she
real
was good.
villain.
I mean, she was played well. I thought she was a decent villain.
Okay.
You know.
Right.
So
fair enough. Joey?
That's not good. Whatchamacall? That family doesn't have a good record. Is it?
No.
The Xaviers?
Yeah. Like the other one is a reality bender, right? The brother?
Yeah.
And then this Legion, there's also another fuck up.
And there's a clone.
Yeah, that's
oh my.
Xavier is also not a fucking great guy either. He just acts like he is.
All depends on who has the pencil.
Yeah.
And he has the pencil.
Yeah.
He can write anything. But yeah, like
They get into a little bit of that.
that whole clan is not so good.
Joey?
I've been just ass deep in law books. I'm tired.
Yeah. You look tired.
Yeah, I haven't done much of anything. Well, actually, I haven't done anything. I've just been.
How's it going, the studying?
It's better than I thought. At
that's
least,
good.
like I'm getting through a lot of it.
What's
I'm
your
retaining
studying
a lot.
process?
Oh,
Like for me, if I'm going to study, I usually have to write it down. Like I'll be like, the baby's laying on a basket with Star Wars characters. Then I write on a piece of paper. The baby's laying on a basket with Star Wars.
so
characters.
I used to do that more. So through pharmacy degree, I had to study a lot. And so I learned about myself is that does help. Is the repetition, right? Writing it. Sometimes I would write notes and then I'll copy my notes.
Yeah, I've done that
Right?
too.
So
Yep.
like that's repetition will get it in my brain. But what I realized eventually is like it's not just the writing it down. It's because it's the picture of it. So hard to explain. So when I write something down, right, it's usually in bullet points, and then I might draw a graph or whatever. But what ends up being retained in my brain is a picture, a photo of that page. It's like some kind of photographic memory. Not exactly. It's
Right.
not like I can look at a building and say that's 57 windows.
Right.
But I noticed myself on a test, like if I'm trying to remember something, in my head I would see that page, and then on that page where that line I wrote was, and then eventually I just start looking at a book and just reading the book more, and then when I'm taking a test, I can just remember the page off that book. So yeah, I've just been reading. I bought a book version. It's a PDF I can read online, right? Which I'm decent at just studying from PowerPoints and stuff. If it's a PowerPoint, if it's one page. So that's another thing that I've noticed is a photographic thing. It's because pages with lots of text, when I scroll to read, I no longer have a picture in my head of what the page looks like. The scrolling fucks it up for me. So it's like I printed out like hundreds of pages.
Wow.
At work, whatever. they have laser jets.
You're trying to benefit them.
Yeah, well, they're the ones making me do it. Well, not making me. It's making it's a strong word, but they're strongly encouraging me for years to do this. So, like, I printed out like the whole fucking 100-something page of like DC law, and then I bought a book for the federal law.
Oh wow.
And I've been just reading, and I again noticed the same thing, like that is just a trait of my brain, because like they have test questions and stuff. And then I would answer in my head the page I think it is, or if I don't know the answer, I was like, I think I know what page it is and what the page looks like, and I would turn to the page and it would look exactly like I picture it, but then it's blurry in my mind what the line says.
Somebody wrote, and Waleed wrote, and just said, "Please remember to tell Joey it's on the that I feel his pain with expensive exams. He spent $1,800 to attempt a 40-minute exam.
That's more
for the second time.
Oh, that's $1,800 a pop.
$1,800
a pop. So
Yeah.
okay, so for pharmacy, right? You don't just pay for the test. I was explaining to this Pinkerton the other day. So first, I have to pay NABP, National Pharmacy Association, whatever, Board of Pharmacy, National Board of Pharmacy, money, around $200 to get an authorization to test. So you pay them. They're like, all right, give me this money, and it will tell you if you're allowed to take it. Right, so I pay them, and then like the next day it's like, okay, you're allowed to take it. Now go schedule these other people to take the test
and pay them.
So I went to schedule the test. They're like, all right, this is $200 for this per state per time.
Fucking racket.
Yeah. So you can take it up to 5 times. So if you fail 5 times, you're done. You're not getting licensed in that state. But most people, I think, doesn't pass DC on the first try. I'm going to try to pass these. I'm not trying to pay $400 for a test that I don't want to take is already enough. $600 is, I can't believe, $1,800.
Wow.
And I'm not about the sunk cost fallacy either. If I fail a second time, I'm not going for a third time.
Right.
Like just because I wasted $800 doesn't mean I'm going to waste another $200.
Right.
But that's just what I've been doing, and it's hard, man. Like I'm decent at school and taking tests and studying. That's like one of my strong points.
I'll buy it.
Did my eyes give it away, Bobby?
I saw it in your eyes. The window to a man's soul, they say.
But it's not straightforward. It's not only because the law is convoluted. That's fine. Like I can do that, but again, so I've been doing Maryland law. It's just practicing, right, in the back of my mind. Not that I've been studying Maryland law for the last 12 years. It's just day in, day out. I know
you're faced with it.
Yeah, I'm faced with it. So I have to completely forget Maryland law because it would get convoluted. Because DC law and Maryland law, though they have similarities, I don't want to mix them up. So I'm just trying to completely forget about Maryland law and study DC law and remember that. So I have to untrain myself. But with pharmacy, there's also federal law. And they're not additional. Like, it's fine. If you're like, okay, you have to know federal law and DC law. No. Or you have to know DC law supersedes federal law. That's not the case. So, like, you have to know both laws. And sometimes DC law applies and sometimes federal law applies. And you have to know which when. And I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah.
The convoluted nature of it, it just, why can't this whole federal and state thing is fucky anyway, just because of like, easiest example is weed, right? Technically, it's not legal.
Nope.
Right? But it is legal.
Right.
So, like this, I would say
the general rule, the way it's supposed to work, right, is that the Fed set a standard, and anybody else can raise the standard, but no one can lower it. But that's not the case anymore. Right?
Yeah, but and like
and thank God,
and like weed, right? So it would also be more clear if states only write laws that supersedes the federal law. Why bother? I mean. Good that we have it, right? Obviously, it benefits the people. Like, why bother writing laws that don't count, technically speaking?
Yeah.
Like, you just adding more fucking...
Yeah.
You just get lost in the sauce that way.
I was listening to... because we have another politics discussion at some point today. But, like... we actually got some big up for last week's episode.
We turned up.
because we did turn up, but everybody was cool. Everybody was, no feelings were hurt, I hope.
I mean, I got loud, but again, I wasn't yelling at anybody. I was yelling at the sky, really.
Yeah, same.
Old man yelling at the clouds is me.
But we had they were like, man, this was one of the most civil, respectful amongst everybody political discussions they heard in a long time.
I feel like we always do at this table.
I do too. Now.
But
in
the last few years,
I'd say, yeah. But I'll say that to say this is I was listening to the Fifth Column plug, and they had this guy on. He works in the Supreme Court. He's not a justice, but he works in the Supreme Court, and he's an interesting dude. They have him on like once a year, and he kind of gets into the nitty gritty because I do feel like they're like the most kind of cloak and dagger of the three branches. Like legislators legislate, the executive signs off,
execute,
executes, and then you have the Supreme Court that says yay or nay.
Right.
It's like, well, wait, how do we need a yay or nay after? I don't always grasp the intention there.
Yeah.
But he was saying he made an interesting point about everybody being honest with themselves, and they were talking about some of the unilateral things that Trump did to the border, right, without the agreement of the legislative branch. And he was like, and certain people were in favor of that, and certain people were against it, saying this is the threat to democracy. And then years later, Joe Biden does the exact same thing with college loan refunds.
Yeah.
And certain people were against it, and certain people were like, finally, a hero. The problem is both of those people had the exact opposite stance when the previous person was. So no one's being honest about whether or not they're okay with the president moving unilaterally. He's like, which is the issue. Everybody should be like, no unilateral movements. You're not king. You're not emperor. You can't just do what you want.
Yes.
But people only feel that way when it's either their guy or it benefits them.
Yep. So yeah, that's where I am with just life. I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm like so many flipping back and forth, like cross-referencing of shit. So I just hope I pass. I don't want to fucking do this. I hate school. I hate tests.
Yeah.
It's just because you're good at something doesn't mean you have to like it.
Well, I also feel like there's this. I've pretty much decided I'm not doing that anymore.
I did too 12 years ago.
Right, but
what if your work was like, look, Bobby, you got to do this.
So they are.
Okay.
They are, but I've pretty much said I'm not playing the game anymore.
Okay.
But what's funny is I feel like they don't tell you that.
Don't tell you what.
Like, I feel like the dream that you're sold culturally and as an American is like you go through elementary, middle, high school,
and maybe college.
Then you go to college, or you go to trade school, or you go to the military, or you find a job.
Yep.
Right. And when you're done trade school, or done military training, or done college, then you go off into your career, and now you're a worker.
Yes.
You were a student.
Yes.
And now you're a worker.
Yep.
But the truth is they just want you to be a fucking student forever.
Yeah. Continuous education.
I'm done being a student. I don't want to learn anymore unless I want to learn it, and I'll watch a YouTube video.
The student has become a master.
And I'm telling you, I'm not a master of anything, but like, like I wanted.
YouTube would teach me everything I know, by the way.
What?
YouTube has taught me everything I need to know.
It taught me a lot. So like I was
or everything I want to know. YouTube has taught me everything I want to know.
I was this is funny. I don't know if I sent it to you, Joey, or not, but I'm watching. I'm wrapped up in these fucking dragons. I can't get enough of these fucking dragons.
Oh yeah.
I'm living and breathing fucking dragon fire right now. But I want to understand the world better. I don't have a firm grasp on that world the same way I have a firm grasp of like DC or Star Wars. Like I kind of know about it. I feel like this is probably how people feel when they watch nerd shit for the first time in general. But like, I want to know it.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's like so many names and they're all so similar, and and then there's like not just one Bobby Skullface. There's Bobby Skullface the Great and Bobby Skullface the Unworthy and Bobby Skull. Where's
the term?
So I found this video.
Baby, tell me what you want from me. There was Raina, Lena, Lenore, Rhea, Rhaenys, Rhaenyra, Balon, and Baela, Damon, Aemon, Vaemon, Jaehaerys, about 2 Aegons, Joffreys, and Jaehaerys, Eric. Well, he murdered his own brother, Auric, Lucerys, Jacaerys, Viserys, and Viserys.
This is the Pokemon rap. This is the fucking Pokemon rap for fucking.
Well, it's the same as like the original
the
what they want. When she was like, there's Linda, Renisha, about 3 Kims, Latoya, Tanisha. But like, so anyway, but
Mambo number 5 also.
Yeah, it's true, for better or worse. But I've been watching a lot of stuff on Game of Thrones to try to learn that world better.
I love that era of fandom I get into. By the way,
that's
happened multiple times. Like with Star Wars, that's like the best time to be a fan.
Yeah,
before it gets ruined for you.
Yeah, but once you figure it out, now you got a stake in that shit. Now you're like, this ain't right.
Yeah, when you're first excited, this is a whole new world.
It's true.
Those are the best things to be fans of. Stuff that you can deep dive into.
Yeah, it's like the 4 stages of it. It's like the attraction, the interest, the research, the love, and then the disappointment. Anyway, you got anything else, Joey?
No, just that. And I'm taking test Tuesday after next.
Oh, well, we'll see you hopefully next week. But if not, best of luck.
We have crossover.
Yeah,
I do have a couple of days off next week, so
good. I'm gonna.
But because like this is the second time I've been late in like a month to like that had to be woken up, right? And I've been on this show for years, and that's not happened. Like
that is true. That is true.
There's been one time I had like a severe migraine, and I didn't make it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm the one who's like, yeah, we're doing this tomorrow, right? I feel bad about it because I'm not usually late to things in general.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. But like I had said to Jordan, I was like, man, this dude has been doing this forever, and he's been late twice, and they've both been within a month.
Yeah, it's because this shit is fucking me up.
So I wanted to go over my notes, which I do have a few things to talk about. I kind of already talked about The Boys, but I did watch the finale, and it's fine.
It didn't get any better.
No,
not as bad.
No,
but it didn't resolve itself the way you wanted to.
No, and it put itself in an interesting place to close it because next season's the last season.
Right.
Didn't someone want to extend it for the monies? Maybe.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think they're done. So it put itself in an interesting place to start, which is fine. Dragons is still fucking incredible.
Love the dragons.
Dude, I love the dragons, man. And like this was like this past week. Are you watching it?
No.
So this past week was a bricklaying episode, like, and so was the week before it. But like, I just find all of the bricks so goddamn interesting.
That's great.
Yeah,
great place to be.
There's this one. There's like this meme going around. So this one guy, Damon. In layman, in the Nor and Raymond, but he has this dragon, Syraxis, I think is the dragon's name.
They need a rap for that one too.
And so so they go to he's trying to bring armies to their side, or like kingdoms to their side. But the question is it to their side or is it to his side, right? But so he goes to this one place and like gets the dragon and gets in, and then like I think I'd mentioned on here, but he like starts having these hallucinations, and the question is like is he losing his mind because he's a Targaryen and they're all incest and they start to go crazy,
yeah,
or is there a witch who's obviously a witch at this place that is making him have these hallucinations, right? So it's like we're trying to figure it out, little mystery, little puzzle. But there's been all these memes of like bored animals, like a chameleon or a dog, and like, this is Syraxis waiting outside the Kingdom Hall while Damon trips his balls off for 3 days. It's been pretty good. But yeah, Dragons is incredible. Can't recommend it enough.
I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've seen all the other stuff preceding.
I'm excited to watch it again.
Yeah, nice.
Like I want to start it all over.
Ringing endorsement.
Yeah. So this was kind of funny. So my mom's husband died a couple of days ago, and it sucks because my niece was there when it happened. But he's been sick and everything, and I don't give a fuck about him. Let me be clear about that too.
It's not Richard. It's
another one. It's another one.
This is what you don't have a relationship with at all.
No, we had a. Well,
you met him, right?
I have met him. So my mother.
It's great.
She's got all sorts of her fair share of bullshit, but I do know who she is, right? And my mother grew up around. I hate using this term, but I'm going to use a different term instead. Aggressive, assertive men.
Okay.
My uncles are aggressive, assertive men. My grandfather was an aggressive, assertive. My father is my grandfather, or was my grandfather's favorite choice of my mother's her whole life. He was like, your dad, fucking stand-up guy. Is like what he used to say. Like, that's a fucking man. Like, they're all that way. And after my father, my mother preferred men that were not that way.
Right.
And my brothers and sisters' father is, a more meek individual, and then this other guy, I don't know. But I was on the phone with my mother years ago. My sister was in rehab at the time, and my mother and I were arguing, and I could hear her new husband, this guy that just passed, in the background yelling like, tell him shut his goddamn mouth and all this shit, right? I can hear him. And I was like, is that, this guy, is that so-and-so? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, tell him I heard him. Can't wait to see him. And I knew I could hear my mother like, fuck, because my mother knows who I am also. We don't get along at all, but she knows I am cut of that cloth, right? So, as fate would have it, we end up meeting. It's that my sister has like a bring your family to rehab day, where you go and you show your support and all this bullshit. And I'm just not like, and I'm just sitting there and I'm listening to everybody's fucking, story and I'm here for it. I like a good story, but, afterwards we're walking out. My mom said something slick. Can't remember what it was. We're in the parking lot and I corrected my mother. I was like, nope, such and such, such and such and such and such. And then, the dude, her husband was right next to her. I was like, and you got a fucking problem? And he was like, nope. And I was like, I thought not. And I looked over at her and I was like, no fucking problem. And I could see it in my mother's face, like, fuck, because that's not the type of man that she likes, but it's the type of man that she can control. So she has to constantly have this battle with herself of like, what do I want? The man that I want or the man that I can control? And I saw the disappointment in her face of her son being the type of man that she wants and her husband being the type of man that she can control, and how that edged out for her in that moment. And I wish I could have a screenshot of her facial expression.
A Kodak moment.
But anyway, that's the only interaction I ever had with that dude. So he I don't wish death on anybody, so God bless the dead. But
we all gotta die.
We all gotta go someday. But so he has passed, and my niece was there for it, which I really think does suck. So my sister texts me. My sister texts me, hey, he died. He's had cancer, all sorts. He's had some shit going on, but he fell, had a brain bleed or something. He's done, right? So I sent her a GIF of it was a tombstone, and then this guy putting his hand out of the ground with like one of those foam novelty sports, like we're number one.
Yes.
Out of it, and just said rest in peace. And then after I sent it, it was having problems going through. So I left my phone on the counter while I sent it. And Jaina saw it, and Jaina's nosy as hell. So she was like, oh, was he a big sports fan? And I was like, no, I just don't give a fuck. She was like, oh, okay. So anyway, I say all that to say this. That night, we're talking, my wife's there, family's there, we're all chilling, we're all sitting around the couch talking. And I was like, we were talking about it, and I could see that my younger two were confused, right? They didn't know what was going on. So I was like, my mother's husband died. And Leia goes, Pappy? And starts bawling. And I was like, no, come here. And like, I'm hugging her, and I'm like, nah, Pappy's fine. Knock on wood, Pappy's fine. I was like, Grams, who's my father's wife to them, Grams is not my mother. I was telling that all the time, but they have a hard time with it. So I was like, Grams is not my mother. My mother you've never met, and her husband, she's a new husband that you've never met, and he died. And like, but for Leia to come and like center herself again. So it was interesting on a couple levels. For one, seeing how much she loves my father. I don't know why. I'm not sure my father knows her name. But she loves my father. And so to see how crushed she was, it was like, oh fuck. Like in my mind, they're not that close to him. Yeah. But it's still going to have this effect. I was like, oh shit. But two,
now you're ready for it.
Yeah, maybe. But two was just the other week, she thought Gomez had died.
Oh yes,
and it just brushed it off. And brushed it off with like, he was one of my favorites.
Yeah,
but like, she, in her mind, it's like these things happen to Daddy's friends. But like we don't lose family. We don't lose a whole lot of family.
Yeah.
So that all of that was just sort of an interesting case study for me to see. Let's see what else. So I talked about So one other thing. So Selena wasn't really paying attention to that conversation 100%. So when Leia went back over and sat on her chair, Selena was like, "What happened? What was all that about?" And Leia was like, "Some guy died." And this is a quote. "I thought it was Pappy, but I don't know. It's not Pappy. But this guy fell, hit his head, and bleeded all over the place."
Sounds like her.
Yeah. All right. And so then the last two things I have was I watched both Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs with Jaina.
Ah, nice.
And she fucking loved them. And she was just like talking, but so I was worried about the rape scene in Pulp Fiction. That was the one that I was like, but I was like, man, I have to keep reminding myself, like, she's going to be 16 in a couple days, a month. So I was a little worried about that, but she didn't really get hung up on that, but she was hung up on the concept of the GIMP.
That's not a common concept nowadays.
Yeah.
When we were in high school, that was you call people GIMP. Hey, what's up, GIMP?
Yeah, but I never thought of it necessarily as looking like that.
Yeah.
So like
that was later on you find out what that means kind of thing. Yes.
Yeah. So she was like, "What's a GIMP?" And it's like, "Are GIMPs all over the place?" Like, are they, like she's like trying to wrap her head around like the whole thing. But she was like laughing, and she was like she was like commenting on like, God, like that's so perfect, like the dialogue and stuff. And then at the end of the movie, when they're back in the diner, where the beginning of the movie opens, like as the camera started to pan out, she was like, "Oh, we're back at the, you know what I mean?" Like, and like to see her head like get blown, her mind blown, so to speak, by the by that movie. It was like, I don't know, it's some way I'm like living vicariously. It's like I get to experience it again in some weird way. And then we watched Reservoir Dogs, which I fell asleep on, not because it's bad, but because I was tired as fuck and I was trying to stay awake. But she was just like, man, she was like, that movie's fucked. And I was like, yeah. She was like, but it's so good. And I was like, I just want to tell you that they don't make them like they used to. And she was just like, oh my God, But anyway, it's been fun. I'm looking forward to watching more with her.
Nice.
And that's all I got. So we do have a little bit of notes, nothing crazy.
I thought don't you have a lot of SDCC news now?
So a little bit. I'll try to cover that as well. First of all, it was kind of interesting that we had this whole discussion about Biden versus Trump last week.
Yes.
And then Biden drops out, for the next thing. Like it almost rendered that conversation completely unnecessary.
I mean, I don't think so.
No, I agree.
Kind of, because all the points that were made
still apply. They carry over.
It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. It is interesting. Like, one thing I love about my work currently is my work has a wide array of political opinions. So like we definitely have some like hardcore Trump folks, we have some hardcore Biden folks. And then we have a whole bunch of people that like me that are just like, man, fuck both of these motherfuckers. Like, and everybody argues and debates and yells and screams, and none of us think any differently about the people that we're having the conversation with, which I love.
Yeah.
I hate seeing people that I know that are friends in real life arguing like online and being like nasty to one another. And I'm like, man, y'all both love each other. And you're letting this other fucking guy who doesn't know either one of your fucking names, not the one that hates you or the one that loves you, get in the middle of y'all's friendship. Like, I don't know, it's fucked.
It is, but I mean, to me, that one friend that unfriended me, like, got me to understand the point of it. It's like beyond the depth of it. Yes, it's a tribes thing. It's a this is my team kind of thing. It's a I hate that guy thing. But at the end of it, to me, I think when people disagree and argue with each other, it's not about that. It's well, it could be, but this specific instance is like what the other side to them stands for,
right?
And then they equate you just because you're aligned with that. Well, then you must stand for this shit that is heinous, also,
right?
Then you must support this shit that they're doing,
right?
Also,
yeah.
So but it says something about you at that point. Yeah,
but that's silly.
Yeah, that's silly.
Yeah,
that is silly.
Because like.
But that's why you don't pick a side, because you have to align with everything on that side.
Well, that's the thing is like there's never been any political candidate in my life that I've ever been like, or any political candidate, just person in my life where I'm like, I 100% wholeheartedly agree with every single one of your views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take you, for example, Chris, for example, like I love both of you. And I don't agree with all of your fucking views.
You don't like our fun romps.
Yeah, easy example. You know what I mean? So, like, just because I love you doesn't mean that I have to love John Wick or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
or anime.
Yeah,
like it's okay to in my head, like you can still like be supportive of a candidate and not agree with all of their stances. But I do think that you're right, where people associate the worst or maybe the most heinous or perhaps the most personal of their beliefs.
Yeah.
They want to put that jacket on you.
yeah. Whether it's true or not.
Right.
It's like I remember one last thing this person said to me was like, "Oh, then you support killing brown people." I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know if that's true. And you know, even if it was, I don't. 'Cause I'm not voting for him. I'm not voting for this guy.
Right,
All right.
right.
So the worst. So like we can disagree on movies or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, all the true crime stuff says that too to me because I can see it in the family that okay, us not agreeing about anime is different, but if I was some kind of serial killer and you would have to draw a line somewhere, right?
Well, so I don't. I guess at some point, yes.
But none of because like this guy who I was watching the other day was like fucking murdering women, and his mom was like, they were terrible women. My son had to do it.
That's unconditional love.
But then you can at that point say you as a person, the mother, is a bad person also, right?
Yes.
Because you're actively supporting your son killing people, and it's okay.
Yes, but no presidential candidate is killing people.
No,
well, I mean,
but I'm just saying,
people.
like the point of it is that
no, I get that, but even like your view on humanity sometimes,
Yeah.
like where you and it's not all the time.
Yeah.
You like to think it is sometimes, Joe, but it's not all the time. but sometimes you get in this like where humans are awful creatures. Like you could interpret that as being a very, very like kind of
Negative
and dangerous
Yes.
view. But just because I'm friends with you doesn't mean that I think that all humans, or even that I truly think that you think that. But you know what I mean?
If I set about a plan to eradicate humans, at that point you would have to draw a line, right?
Yes, but that's the difference between Hitler and fucking Trump. You know what I mean? Like,
But people don't see that, right?
yeah, but that's not my fault.
Yeah.
You know, one person killed or was responsible for the death of 6 million people, and one person's an asshole.
Who is could inadvertently be responsible for a lot of people getting hurt? Yes, but like,
But you can't name a president that's not.
yes, exactly. That too.
You know, it's like that's the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
People get hurt, and it sucks. That's what you're never going to find a perfect one.
But to me, that's why people get so heated about. Unless they're just fucking dumb, like team supporters who's like, I'm this team, because there are those people. But to me, I see it as that when they get so heated and angry at someone they love, it's like I love you. How can you support these people being killed? Is what to me what I'm interpreting the anger as.
Right. But in my breath is, I guess in my
injustice, it's not necessarily people getting killed.
in my mind, it's like I don't think like it's like there's no room for like a judgment across the board in a way. It's like, okay, well, Trump hates black and brown people. Like, and look, I'm not voting for Trump. I don't. Maybe he does in his heart of hearts. I don't know the dude.
Yeah.
But he freed A$AP Rocky, and he freed Lil Wayne, and he freed Kodak Black. And I'm like, man, like, do I get another A$AP Rocky record? Because, and I'm not saying that that's worth any whatever. I would never vote for him because he freed A$AP, but I'm just saying that, like, I'm like, man, like, it's a hard thing for you to convince me of,
Yeah.
Because like it'd be one thing if he was like, "Oh man, Trump just went in and freed every white murderer." I'd be like, "All right, let's have a look at this shit." I just think that we love to generalize things because it's easy.
Yeah,
it's easy. It makes things consumable. It makes things. It's like like, oh, he feels this way. Like I don't think like my wife, and obviously, I mean me too. Like not hashtag, but just in general. I'm very much against this reversing of Roe versus Wade. Like I'm very much against it. I'm the father of 3 daughters. Like I'm very much against it. But like I think that sometimes we extrapolate things, right? So like, okay, so this happened under the Trump watch, therefore Trump hates abortions.
Yeah.
I'm like, I bet you if we look into his life, he doesn't hate them all that much. You know, it's like, because we take things and we assign different meanings to things because it's easy.
Yeah.
You know, like no man is all good or all bad.
I mean, that's the problem with not just politicians, public figures who has strong views on stuff, and because you can't take them at the word for it, because a lot of times you find the same skeletons in the closet, right? All the time.
Yeah, we talk
all the fucking time.
It's
you hate pedophiles and you're one, huh?
It's one of the
hate gays and you're one, huh?
It's one of those things that you made me see. One of the biggest impacts. Excuse me, that was gross. That you had on. I was like some Robert D. shit. One of the biggest impacts that you've had on my life is noticing, being aware, and perhaps sitting back before judgment regarding the slippery slope of morality. And once you think you have some moral high ground, it's really hard to vote about humanitarian efforts, you know, casting your thoughts out about humanitarian efforts when you're doing it from your phone that was made with total disregard for humanitarian efforts.
Yep.
You know, it's like, it's tricky. You know, and it doesn't make you tweeting that a bad person.
Yep.
You know, but just for a second, look at it.
Yeah. People don't.
No.
Not at all. But it's hard to be a good person. Like the textbook definition of a good person in the world of a textbook good human is like impossible.
I got into I got into a conversation with in a Facebook group that I'm kind of like, even to be honest, somewhat reluctantly in.
Oh, but a neighborhood one?
No, that one I wish I could be in twice. But it's it doesn't matter what the name of it is because I don't want anybody joining it. But a buddy of mine from my olden days created it, and he put me in it, and he put up a text or something, and it was like, it was something along the lines of like, what if this whole group decided to organize and vote for the same candidate? Right? Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I responded back and I was like, I'm down for something like that as long as it's third party. I like my presidential candidates like I like my Transformers. And
they usually made better that way.
They usually are made better. And the truth is so as soon as I said this, I got a response back pretty quickly from someone who I don't know that said, so who? And I responded back and I said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't care if the American people, because whoever it is not going to win.
Yes.
So I really don't care.
You just, like you said, you want to move the needle.
But if we could organize enough to vote for a third party significantly enough for people to acknowledge a third party system, that's the win for me.
I think that's a great point.
So then it went into, well, I couldn't vote for Trump. That's what the conversation went into. And I said, well, I couldn't either. But they kept trying to get me to admit in some weird way that either that I hated Biden, that I loved Trump, or that I was in some way voting for Trump because I wasn't voting for Biden.
That's always the dumbest bottom point that any one of these people make on either side.
I
or
agree.
if you don't vote for this guy, you're voting for the other.
I agree.
Nope, I literally am not voting for the other guy.
I couldn't be more firm in who I'm voting for. But I had, and some of these guys I've been friends with for 30 years, and I had to move so tactfully and cautiously because I could tell it was getting emotional, and I had to move so. Perhaps how I should have moved in that goddamn Zoom call, but I had to move so tactfully. Like I had to sit and write, sometimes erase, rewrite, edit, and it took 2 days and about 6 responses before one of them said, "I get it." and whatever. But that was me being tactful, and I can tell you, I didn't feel like I was being awarded the same tact.
Yeah, in return.
Yeah. But eventually, it did win through. Yeah. You know, but it was just like, I'm like, man, I've been friends with you for 30 fucking years. Like, you know, and some people in this group, I'm like, man, you wouldn't be here without me.
Yep.
You know? Anyway. So, enough about that. Hopefully that'll tide us over in those sorts of conversations for a while. But I hate election years, man.
Yep.
I hate it.
Because
I hate it.
I hate elections.
I do too. I like the principle.
Yes. No, I just don't like ours.
Yeah. So, R.I.P. Bob Newhart. My grandma loved that fucking dude, man. Love that fucking dude.
We hang out together now.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, she loved the show. She loved his stand up. She thought he was funny as hell. So I left it in there. Joker 2 trailer. You watched that?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I thought there wasn't going to be a sequel.
No, there is. Remember, it might be a musical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right. I just remember Joaquin Phoenix saying he doesn't like to do sequels. And like that.
Two things can be true.
Yeah. I think the second trailer, just in terms of trailer, did a much better job setting tone and giving some insight as to what that movie's actually going to be. I'm intrigued. I want to see it.
Yeah,
you know,
I do too.
I don't think the first movie is perfect, but
no.
There's something.
I actually think
it has a magnetism to it.
I think I think the first movie is good. You just have to.
You have to have the right expectation.
Yeah, and you have to kind of think of it as a very alternate universe.
Yeah.
Like you can't you can't apply the same rules in any way, shape, or form. Right. You got to kind of go in with a fresh slate.
Yep. It's its own thing unto itself.
Yeah.
And you can't go in with so yeah, I mean, looking at what they, you know, what they're presenting now, I am intrigued and it looks interesting. I think Harley seems like she's going to be really cool. You know,
I love her as an actress. I think she's fantastic. Yeah. Like that fucking country music movie that she was in, I thought she did a great job. House of Gucci, I thought she did a fucking great job. Looked great too, I'll have you know. It looks like she's doing a great job. Yeah. Like, I like her. I don't dislike her music. It's not all for me, but but I like Lady Gaga the actress more than I like Lady Gaga the musician.
Yeah. Like Will Smith.
Yeah. Like, except I still want to do songs for every me and Martin Lawrence, and we're back again. Bad Boys, aka the best of friends.
Perfect.
Alien Romulus trailer.
Looking forward to it.
That looks cool.
Okay, looking forward to it.
This looks bad to me.
Really?
It does. It does. I don't know what it is about it. I'm interested, but this looks bad to me.
I guess my one spot of concern, I didn't pick up on it when I watched the trailer initially, but then I watched it last night when I went to see the movie. I didn't realize the whole cast was so young. It's like now it's aliens versus teenagers. But
well, they weren't. They were once the predators, the prey. Now they're the predators. Yeah.
But just in terms of like creature horror, it seems like it has the right mix of that.
I think that Aliens is I think this is where I feel about it. I think that Aliens is in a place where the mythos needs to move the needle.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is it.
Yeah, oh, no. This seems like it's just more of the same. They're just going to amp up the gore factor.
Yeah. So. And that doesn't interest me.
I mean, that's why I like the Prometheus and the...
I agree.
And yeah.
I agree.
Like him or not, they did do something. They're trying to do something, you know?
They move the needle.
Yeah. Sure. This definitely seems like it's going to be a step back to like, we want it to be more like the first movie.
Yeah.
And then maybe from there they can...
I feel like we keep hearing that.
Yeah. Yes.
But like, maybe from there we can do it. Maybe from what was that last one?
Predators?
No. God, no. That one that was like a sequel to Prometheus. It wasn't. Yeah. People don't think it was bad.
Oh,
I don't know.
Alien.
whatever it was, it didn't move the needle. It was just aliens doing alien things and people having to fight them.
Because again, they tried to bring it back to a more, known quantity.
But it's like I get tired of watching the same movie.
No, the second, like Prometheus 2, let's say, I think it moved the lore.
They were on the planet.
They were on the planet, but with David, the robot guy, they were moving the lore of like the creation of these things and how they came to be and how they came to spread. And like there was definitely lore to that movie.
So to be fair, I fell asleep on it.
Yeah.
But I fell asleep on it because at a certain point I was like, man, this is just aliens fighting humans, and I've seen that. And not to say that they don't do it at some point.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they have to do that, at some point.
But Prometheus, from the time that the fucking ignition is turned, it's like, oh, okay, we're gonna learn something.
Yeah.
I think I need to learn something more or see it do something different. When Chucky O was here and was talking about the books and like that shit, I was like, books, this is what they should be doing.
World building and
But I feel like from most moviegoers' perspective though, most people didn't like Prometheus. It was too different. The aliens didn't look like the aliens.
But they weren't aliens yet, though. That's the thing.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But most people, that's not what they want.
Yeah, you might be right.
I mean, I agree. I thought Prometheus was cool.
I loved Prometheus.
Yeah, I did too.
It was nice to see something different. And if you can follow along with the genetics of how this became that, and that became that, and that became that.
I mean, that's what they explained a lot of it in the second one. I think you fell asleep on it, but there was a lot of lore in the second one of the world building of that.
I had to give it another shot. I just really struggled with it because I think I was coming off of Prometheus. And I don't think Prometheus is perfect. The ending of Prometheus, I kind of feel like falls back into similar alien tropes.
Because Prometheus 2 directly follows that. It's one story.
Yes.
And it's just like you realize who the main character is, and it's not a protagonist. It's just David the android. David is the whole. It's the whole story. The story is about him and his journey.
And it came out way after Prometheus, right?
I don't remember.
It was
like it came out within the last 5 years or so.
No, I don't think.
I don't know about that.
Or what alien movie came out within the last 5 years or so?
Maybe you're talking about that one.
Okay.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
We'll look it up.
Alien movies. They're like E.T., Mac and Me.
Alien.
I know a guy who looks like Mac and Me.
Oh no.
Father. The alien father.
Oh, okay.
If you Google Mac and Me's father and you find the picture of the alien one, not the human one, I know a guy who looks oddly similar. And nobody sees it.
No, that wasn't. It's Covenant. It was the second one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, Prometheus doesn't even have the word alien in the title.
No.
But it's an alien movie. But it's not.
So what year did Covenant come out?
17.
17. Okay.
So that was 7 years ago.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, like that has a lot of this. It's funny. Okay, so this original series, Alien 1 through 4 being Resurrection, Alien vs Predator films being 2 of them.
Yeah.
Prometheus films being the 2 of them, and this Romulus is coming up listing his own listing as standalone film. I guess this is another.
Yeah, I'm worried that this is just going to be.
I wanted a Prometheus 3 because it also ends at a place where you could continue that story.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a what is it, like a paint by numbers?
Yeah.
That's the feeling I get.
I don't disagree with that, but again, like I say, from just a creature gore technical standpoint, I feel like it will be a movie. Yes, it's not going to move the needle as far as the lore of the xenomorphs or whatever, but it's gonna, it's always fun to watch people get ripped up by those things because they're cool creatures.
Like I feel like Freddy, like looking back at those movies, like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, there's some that are just the straightforward gore, movies. But like 1, 2, and 5, maybe even parts of 4, really do change the dynamics of that story.
The backstory.
Yeah. And I think that it's shit that makes me feel like that I'm looking for. And I don't get the impression that this is going to be it. And then I don't know if I'm interested.
Yeah. I'm not interested in watching it, but like I want that. That's what I prefer.
Yeah.
But without that, I would still enjoy a good time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So the next one that I have is Beetlejuice, the new trailer. where you get a lot more Beetlejuice action.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm in.
Yeah. Yep. Same.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
I'm going to see it. I think it looks
Showtime.
fantastic. I don't have any complaints.
I used to watch the cartoon. I like Beetlejuice so much.
Yeah. I'm here for it. I think it's the right time for it. I love the title. I think it looks in the right spirit. I love the kind of modern goth type character that the daughter is playing. That's not as cool or interesting, but perhaps far more cynical and unimpressed.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I think it looks great. So we have some questions, and I want to read
On paper?
Well, so it's funny you asked, Joe. So Will, sometimes known as Willy Whammo.
Yep. Our friendly neighborhood Will.
Yeah, our friendly neighborhood Will. I like that. He wrote us a letter from basic training from the National Guard.
I recognize that paper.
So he said, NRR crew, what's good? Coming at you live from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri in basic training during week 4. Was curious if the Nerd Rage crew, especially Joe, would want to know what basic training is like in 2024. Before basic training, we had to wait in a place called reception. It was like Disney World. The first ride was getting our heads shaved. The second ride was the no sleeper. We basically waited in lines from 3:30 a.m. until 8 p.m. Four of us to a room, and if you hessed you and you could be kept there. I don't know. His handwriting is not the best. Basically, prisoner for a month. Most terrifying experience of my life. To think I could be in there any longer, I was not going to be no prisoner. I don't know. We finally made it to basic, and then we were told that actual basic wasn't going to start for another week. We had to wait again.
What the fuck?
Wow.
Basic really isn't that bad. In November, I'll be back from my Texas firefighting school, which he's doing, which is cool. And then I'll only have to do Army work 1 weekend a month because I'm in the National Guard. I'll give you one. Oh, sorry. Wrong pass.
It works.
Actual basic ends August 15th, and fire school is more chill. Basic training is pretty much just prison, but you're being paid. There's clicks, phone calls,
That's true.
mandatory events.
I think it's harder than prison. I think there's less to do in prison. I think you have a lot more free time to in prison.
Something cadres are currency. I can't read your handwriting, buddy. Stamps are a high value item because of the ability to write home. Was mainly curious about Joe. I know Joe served in the Navy, and before that was in boarding school. What was your basic like? Super curious. Were you in the Navy also?
I was in the Army.
Army. Oh, so yeah, we'll have a little discussion. I'll make sure to listen to Nerd Rage when I get out in August. Have fun and safe times. P.S. Now Bobby's gotten both a basic training and someone from jail to give them messages for the pod. Fair enough.
We didn't have no rooms and we didn't have no weight like that. So there was also lines of shots. So like we got our head shaved. It was like a one night of no sleep ordeal. And then like you get your head shaved and you go get checked up, and then like you're standing in line to get shot. I remember like walking up, both arms and then ass. Like both arms and then over there bend over to get the ass shot, and the ass shot.
That's the peanut butter shot.
Yeah, that's like cold. That's a cold fucking
Big needle.
yeah, big thick needle. It's like a fucking baseball in your ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, they give you clothes. We didn't have to sit around for a week, and we didn't have rooms. Like it was straight into it.
Yeah, we did the 1 week holding.
Oh really?
Because it was I think the previous cycle had just ended, and then the drill sergeants, they get like a week off, and then the next cycle starts. So we were in that. We had to wait that week while the drill sergeants,
for this
recollected themselves basically, and that's when they would make everybody like you practice doing PT tests and you do all that stuff before you actually go. I mean, then you get on the bus and they take you to your company, and then that's when you get shark attacked, all that stuff.
What's shark attack?
That's when. So they're real nice to you when you first get there. Not a lot of correction. Like you're just kind of hanging out with a bunch of other guys your age and talking about how, wow, this is, this is great so far. And then they load you on the bus and they take you to the company where you're going to be at. And then an NCO comes aboard the bus and he's like, hey, welcome.
Yes.
Here. This is going to be great. And I'm going to go get your drill sergeants and they're going to come on and welcome you into the company and get you set up and whatever. And that guy leaves with a big smile on his face. And then the drill sergeants come on the bus and it's, get off my bus. What the fuck are you doing? And you got to walk off the bus holding your bags out, like this. Like, don't you dare let those bags touch the ground. And, the whole thing. And it was very exciting. I just remember standing there. That's the only time during the whole process where I was like, what decision have I made in my life?
Right.
But once you get through that first day, and it's supposed to be that, right? They're shocking your system and all that. And then it's just the slow process of that first 2 weeks where they break you down and they make you nothing. And then they start to build you back up and make you a cohesive unit, team, all that.
My experience was like 11 to 13 weeks. It wasn't 8. Like I remember being there for like 3 months.
Yeah, I was that too.
Okay, maybe it's different services.
Because I was at what was called an OSET. So it was one station unit training. So I did basic training for 8 weeks. I was at Fort McClellan, Alabama, which is shut down now. So 8 weeks of basic training, and then you get basically a weekend off, and you will right into what we used to call AIT. It's called something else now. So Advanced Individual Training, where they actually teach you your job.
Oh, okay. I had difference in that too, because like, could you go off? Yeah, you finish basic training, but after that, you go off to your respective schools or whatever job you did. I went to nuke school, so that was another like 2. It was a long time. It was another like year, 2 years, some shit like that. It was like I went to school again, but like I remember being at Great Lakes. Great Lakes was the place for like 3 months, definitely more than 2 months. It was. I think it was either 11 or 13. I remember it was an odd number, but it wasn't whatever they were supposed to do. Didn't necessarily do that for me because I went to 4 years of military boarding school. I just stayed the same person.
Right, yeah.
So like, but I did great. I got the lone sailor, some shit like the best guy in in my division. You guys had companies with divisions. Yeah, I got that award, and I was like the least compliant. I just got by because I knew what to do.
Right.
But it was like it was one long road. This place, and it was a lot of buildings. And each building had 2 divisions in it. It's like half a building. And and I think that was all the training. There was the fear of it is like, I didn't care about people fucking yelling at me. They're not going to hit you. And even if they push you around, they're not going to fucking hurt you. And this is 99, 2000. I mean, maybe earlier in the 70s or something, they beat the shit out of you. Like we have some, not hazing, but like, violence within, but there's not like violence from like the authorities. Right. What the fear of is if you care to stay in,
right?
Being remedial. So like, if you fuck up enough, you get added
recycled.
Week.
Oh,
and you get transferred to like a different division, and then at that point, it sucks because you're with a bunch of new guys, and you're seen as a fuck up. It's this fuck up is being transferred in. Who's going to be here for another fucking week?
Right.
Like you don't. Right. And then some people, and eventually they'll kick you the fuck out. But like some people stay there a long time. I imagine, like unless you just fuck up so much you leave, like you can be there a lot longer than it's supposed to be just because you keep getting kicked back. But like you said, the beauty of it is like you're there, like getting fed and all that good stuff. And like at that age, you don't know nothing because you never really worked, right? Or have a real paycheck. At the end of I remember at the end of the 3 months, I looked at my bank account because you have to sign up for Navy Federal.
Right.
It's like, what is all this money? I have like $3,000. What is this? And then the weekend before graduation, a lot of people fuck up the weekend before. I don't know if you have this. We had we had leave. We had to learn to take leave. For 3 days, you leave. You get to go out, but you have to be back up by a certain time.
Yes.
You don't get back by a certain time, you're not fucking graduating. And we had people fail.
Yeah.
And that's when we blew all money on strip clubs.
Nice. I can think of worse places.
Yeah, but like they let us out into Chicago, and we all got like limos and shit.
Oh wow,
it's dumb. Dumb looking back, but dumb fun. Like Yeah, I wouldn't have done it any differently.
It was fun, though.
Did you go right out of high school too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably should have, but I don't think I was.
I mean, you turned out good.
Yeah, I turned out all right. It all shook out. But I there's just certain things. I think there's certain things about the military that are just not like, just not in my core of like, whatever, like DNA. I hate pomp and circumstance. I hate it. Like, I hate it with a passion. I hate things looking the same. I hate, like, and that's a very militaristic thing, right? My whole life I've been trying to stand out. I remember going to, when I went to Christian school, like the uniform there, like I would find some way to fuck it up that was still within, they couldn't say anything about it, but it made me look different.
That's how you do it.
So like, I think there's just certain things about it, and I don't think I was structured or disciplined enough.
But that's one of those things with the military. You have to, I mean, I guess you don't, the way I looked at it, I had to make the conscious decision to, like, all right, I'm going to succumb to this. I'm going to let myself into this thing, and, and granted I was 18, so it wasn't hard to have some older guy scream at me and tell me what to do.
Right.
It's like being at home. So. But yeah, you have to allow yourself to integrate into the
system.
Culture.
Yeah.
And some of the people that you see early on that can't do that, it's usually the older guys.
That's why they only a certain age.
Right. Because all of a sudden
you have individuality.
Who's maybe 30 and coming into basic training, he's got some drill sergeant who's in his mid 20s screaming at him, telling him to do push-ups. It's just, fuck you.
Right.
I could never, and I'm too old now, thankfully, but like I could never go back. I talked to people who got out and they were saying like, yeah, I think I might go back in. And I was like, really? Think about what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, we had a guy.
You have to go back and put yourself back under that.
How many years did you do?
I was in for 6.
You did 4?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had one guy who was a paratrooper in the Army decided to join the Navy and has to do basic again, which is weird. But he was like me. He's like he was skating by because he knew what he's doing, but he kept himself.
Yeah. And
then we had another guy who was older, who already was in the Navy, got out and went back and had to do basic again. But he was older, but he was a fuck up. I think because like he was too old, and mentality wise, it's like
right. Yeah, we had a guy who was in the reserves or something like that. He was an NCO I think in the reserves, and then came in for AIT because he was going to change jobs and then join and go regular Army. And so they busted him down. He couldn't be an NCO in basic training, so they made him a specialist. And it was so hard for him because he viewed all the drill sergeants and NCOs as his peers. So he would like try and just talk to him like a normal person, and they would, oh my God, he used to get lit up because they can't have it.
Right.
I mean, he can't talk to them like on the same level in front of all of us,
Even, it's all, that's the thing. Like, you have to kind of have world experience and life experience to realize it's all game and all show, and you just have to play a part. A lot of people who goes in to just live the normal life up until they're 18, they don't, and like they see it as too real, and it's not, or like they get changed. They get really changed. They come out a different fucking person, and I think that's what the military wants. Yeah. Right? Those are the perfect candidates, and they end up staying their lives. But like you can see, they've lost something. They've gained something, but they've lost something after the fucking 8 weeks.
The whole point of that 8 weeks or whatever of
it's brainwashing.
It's brainwashing.
It's brainwashing.
It's 100% that.
You either have to be strong enough, or you have to like know that is what it is to like
that first 2 weeks. They call it total control. And you don't get to do, and you march on a line. You don't get to do
every minute is counted for. Yeah,
and they control everything that you do. Every minute of the day.
I have it's not comparable, but it's in the ballpark experience in my life that relates to that. And I think what people don't understand about that is the feeling of powerlessness that you feel. As a young person or as a adult or whatever, like you have so much autonomy, make your own decisions, wear what you want, shit when you want, piss when you want, like say what you want, whatever, eat what you want. And then all of a sudden, all of that is completely stripped away. Mm-hmm. And now you have to do this. You have to do that. You can't look over there. You can't look over here. You have to look right the fuck there.
But
but it reminds me. When I had that experience, that it was not the same, but it reminded me of my childhood, my mother's, because that was the last time that I felt powerless. Mm-hmm. You know. You were saying,
but well, that's different. Being a child is true powerlessness, right? But and boot camp, you see, like I said, the people that get changed, they are the ones who buys into that. Whereas, like, I knew I wasn't. I'm playing into it,
right?
But I could really, at the end of the day, I could leave if I want. I don't have to do what you tell me to.
Right.
Like, we sign a contract and stuff, but like if you read and stuff, they're not gonna fucking court martial you. Right. If you just end up being non-compliant, you get remedialed until you get kicked the fuck out. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not actually a prisoner. Right. You can choose to be, but you have to know that you're choosing to be without unconsciously choosing to be. But I don't know how many people were in charge. I had a chief and two NC and two petty officers. So like. One, I have three people in charge of us. One in charge and two that are like assistants.
Yeah, it was similar. We had like for each platoon.
Yeah.
So like about 40 people or whatever. It was, you had one head drill sergeant and then two backup drill sergeants.
So same.
And that was for each platoon. There were 4 platoons to make the company, and then. So yeah, I think they each had 3 to 4 drill sergeants, and then a senior drill sergeant ahead of all the drill sergeants, and then
and I don't know if you guys have the same, like towards the end, or like we try to like break their character or something, because they are playing a character. Sometimes you see him, that guy, he's you break a smile out of him. He's like, oh yeah, he's one of us. He's a normal bro.
Right,
he's a dude. He's just playing this part, and then the reward. Sometimes we'll start telling stories. I can't tell you. And then at the end of the thing, we have C stories. So before we leave, after we earn our hats, because we had like a recruit hat, and then we get a Navy hat afterwards. And then after we are sailors, after we're their peers, then like they would sit down and tell us C stories and how things really are. And then they were just like friendly, right? And actually just cool.
Yep, that was one of my favorite memories. It was towards the end of AIT, and we were doing our final week-long field exercise, and we were in a convoy of Humvees, and this real smart guy, he slowed his Humvee down from everybody else because there's this big hill coming up, and then he raced up the hill and caught a little bit of air, lost control, flipped the Humvee, almost killed everybody in it.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was crazy because there was an M60 mounted to the top and a guy up in the turret.
Oh no!
And the Humvee rolled over and bent that M60 into a U.
Oh wow!
Luckily, the guy in the turret, was smart enough to pull himself down inside
and didn't get crushed.
But anyway, so they used that as a real world, training exercise, which is really smart. So I was military police. One of the things that we do, pull security on stuff, whether it's convoys or assets or whatever. So they basically just set up like, okay, we got to pull security on this damaged asset until it can be removed. And so, you're doing overnight guard, and so it was me and, 3 other people and a drill sergeant, a Humvee overnight. And it was to have we were all able to just sit in there and ask questions of the drill sergeant.
Yes, ask questions. It was really interesting.
And have him speak to us for the first time as a real person,
right?
Yes, not just you have to keep your bearing,
right?
You can't get too familiar, but to have him just speak, to you like a real person,
right?
It was like I'll never forget it. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then, not to go on too long, but then ran into that guy years later. It was after 9/11, and they brought in some other companies to pull guard duty around the Pentagon, supplement and stuff. And he was with the unit, my former drill sergeant. He was with my unit, and I was stationed at Fort Myers in Virginia. And there was a traffic accident involving one of our MP cars and one of their MP Humvees. And so I had to respond as the NCO in charge of traffic investigations. And then he had to come out because he was I think he was probably the first sergeant at that time of the people there. And all of a sudden I saw him, and it was crazy because I snapped a
yes,
and
right,
I was like,
yeah.
Drill Sergeant! Oh! And he was just like, hey, I remember you. He was like, you're okay, calm down. But it was so weird.
Just ingrained into you.
Yeah, you see him, and it was just like, oh my God.
There are people in your life that are in like a disciplinary role that later on it's hard to remove them from that role.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that as well. And you got something on the back of your foot.
On the back of my foot?
Hey, sailor. Anyway, that was my buddy Cat's joke. Yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. I'm interested to hear all the stories.
So good on you, Will, and
yeah,
keep at it. Enjoy it. It's fun.
Paul C. wrote in and said, what phone numbers from your childhood do you still remember, and what is the newest phone number that you actually memorized? So I still remember my grandmother's number. I still remember my home number, both my home numbers, my dad and my mom's house. I remember both of Laura's home numbers from her. She had her own line at first it was the family line, then she got her own line. I remember both of those. And then I remember some friends. The World, I can tell you right now, a call in the World is 410-312-9110.
You just fucked up whoever Stat Life is. Where has that number?
Yeah, somebody calls. They're like, I want to talk to the World. My buddy Trees, Stout. I still remember a lot of their numbers. And then I think the most recent. So I mean, I remember a lot of my phone numbers, like friends, family. I lived in multiple houses, so all that. But I know my wife's cell phone number now and her previous cell phone number that's now her brother's cell phone number. She like passed it on, so like I know his number like by heart, and I wish I could save that room for something else. Nothing against him, just of no value to me. And then I the most recent number that I've probably memorized is my work phone number. Yeah, and my work changed buildings in 2013. So we got a new number in 2013. So 2013 is probably the last number. My daughter has a phone now, my oldest, and I probably should know her number by heart, and I do not. Anybody else?
I know when I was in Hong Kong, I know my grandma's number and my mom's work number. And now I know my number. I've had my number for over 20 years.
Yeah.
Like because I got it in early 2000s. So yeah, phone number for over 20 years. I think I know Krista's number. I'm not sure if it's right, but if I had to, I can write it down. And I know one of my many works numbers.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I don't think I have Adam's number committed to memory anymore. And that was a number that I'd memorized in recent years, but I just haven't used it in 5 years.
Lose it.
Hey, that's what they say, Joe. If you don't bloody use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I remember the house number where I grew up, my phone number, wife's phone number, and then a few work phone numbers.
Oh yeah, I know my mom's number.
That's about it.
Or now, currently.
Yeah, I don't know.
I couldn't pick up and dial either of my brothers if I had to.
Me neither.
Couldn't
call my dad.
Yeah.
No idea. Man. No clue.
Yeah, like if I needed to get a hold of my dad on his cell phone, nope.
Yeah, I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Waleed also wrote in, he commented on your thing earlier, but he said, as an update to my last email, we approached my son's coach after the game with an objective time for how long he was on the bench, 19 minutes and 30 seconds for a 40-minute game. One of the parents interjected, suggesting my 7-year-old son should consider a club more suited for his skill set.
Oh.
He was promptly put in his place by the coach and told to move away when he proceeded to abuse other parents about their kid's performance.
Oh, my God.
Before having a go at his own son.
Oh, God.
Well, hey, at least it's fair.
I like him already.
At least all sides.
He has since been told he is not allowed to attend any more games, and there have been memos circulating saying that all the kids will get equal time on the bench, and emphasizing that the priority for the age group is for kids to have fun developing their skills. Overall,
Perfect.
good outcome. Yeah.
Perfect. Love to hear it.
My wife sometimes, my wife doesn't give a fuck about sports. She's probably the only person on this planet that I've ever met that gives one less fuck about sports than I do. But my wife is hyper competitive. So
It's funny.
It's very funny. So like, it's funny because some of the kids that are have a different skill set on my kids' team. Whenever there's like at practice, there's like a break time, but then there's like an optional thing going over there.
Yeah.
She'll like, I'm choosing these names arbitrarily. She'll step in and be like, Amy, Stephanie, you need to be over there. You don't have time for, get a sip of water. And then you need to be with that group right there. Still, you need to use this time, Amy and Stephanie. It's like her. It's like
It's hard to see that coming from her.
yeah, she doesn't fuck around, boy. It's a huge turn on for me. I don't know why, but it's like it looks good on her, like being like a coach type character. He said, this week I have a bit more of a technical question for Joey relating to the cost of prescription medications in the United States. He said, I'm a bit confused about the role of pharmacy benefit manager. PBM. He said, from what
Me too.
He said, from what I understand, PBM's role is to negotiate discounts with the pharmaceutical companies. In addition, they set medication prices for the consumer and determine which medications will be covered by a consumer's health insurance. Optum is one example of a PBM, and from what I understand, they are part of the insurance company United Healthcare.
Yes.
Furthermore, Optum Rx is a pharmacy which is also owned by United Healthcare.
Yes.
And
You're getting it.
And if I'm not mistaken, United Healthcare customers are required to use Optum Rx,
Which should be illegal.
Putting this together, the PBM decides which medications are covered by health insurance and which pharmacy the patient uses to get those medications.
Yes.
Wouldn't such a structure perpetuate the issue of treatment becoming unaffordable for many in the United States?
Thank you.
To me, this seems flawed, unethical, and a conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Are you able to clarify? Is there something I'm missing?
You're perfectly clear. You, as someone who's not from here, understands our system perfectly that people here does not. But yeah, that's not the only company, right? We have CVS, the pharmacy, which end up buying out. They were pharmacy first, and I believe, and then they bought out Caremark, the insurance, right? And who's also working with Medicare, Medicaid, I believe, and then who also now has their own mail order pharmacies that they want you to get their stuff from. Bro, it's fucked. It's fucked, and like, like, we're not even really getting a piece of the pie as a pharmacy, a regular pharmacist, right? Not part of a group, a chain that owns insurance and stuff, like as a pharmacy chain or a pharmacy that is just a pharmacy by itself. You get fucked because the insurance company tells you what to charge. You can't change that, right? Your copay. You go there, your insurance say, Bobby, your copay is going to be $20. You come to my pharmacy, I charge you $20. I can't charge you anymore.
Right. Even
if I'm losing money. If the drug costs, and they decide what they reimburse me, all right? So we'll make even numbers. This drug cost me $100, all right? And they say, okay, Bobby, you paid $20. Okay, so insurance should be paying me, well, let's just say $80 to cover my costs. I should make profit, but whatever. Okay, so that would make me even. The insurance give me $80, Bobby give me $20, covers my $100. But insurance doesn't have to do that.
Right.
You have to pay $20 because insurance says so. They tell me I have to only charge you $20, but they can come back and be like, "Oh, we're going to give you $60."
That's crazy.
Right. And that's not irregular. So if I am I independent, I get to see these numbers where in change you don't. You have to worry about these things. I have to. It's a lot more work for me at my independent because the bottom line counts. I have to look at every fucking transaction.
Right.
But if you look at it, like a lot of drugs, we're making like pennies. Like some cheap drug that costs you $0, I'm maybe making 23 cents per prescription now, and it's considered high volume at some stores. It's only a few hundred scripts a day, right? And the amount of people that it takes minimally to run a store. So let's say 3 for my independent, and I'm doing 200 scripts a day. You cover the salary of the 3 of us, the overhead cost and the rent, and you're making 23 cents times 200. That's fucked.
Yeah.
And also, so like a lot of pharmacies depend on over-the-counter stuff.
Right.
Like we make majority of stuff over the counter.
Right.
I know that the aspirins and the fucking diapers, that's where the money comes from.
Right.
Even though the pharmacy is the much higher cost thing.
I know,
and it's not a profit to cost ratio or profit to amount ratio. You know, like the higher something costs usually, the more money you make, right? You sell a car, your profit is much higher because even if it's 5%, let's say 5% is your profit for anything you sell. The higher dollar amount you sell, the more that 5% is. And it's not that case. So we have drugs on my shelf that each bottle can buy a car. This is a $30,000 bottle of drug. We have like 3 bottles. And the insurance would be like, all right, we'll pay you $30,001 for this item.
Wow.
It's fucked. It's fucked.
Oh,
yeah, they
it's
run.
fucked.
Seems like they just run rampant.
It's a fucking racket.
Yeah.
Insurance companies are just the whole pharmaceutical. I don't know. But I can't speak for the medical side because I'm not in that field. I assume they're the same because they have to deal with their own insurances. But the healthcare system is fucked on all ends.
Yeah. And then he also reminded me, which I'm glad he did. He's it recently came to light that community member John Garinger has been going through a number of health issues, likely resulting in permanent deficits. To make things worse, he has been struggling with medical bills. There's a GoFundMe page if anyone is wanting to assist, and I left that link in the description of the show notes. And it was funny because well, a couple things. I mean, it's not funny, obviously, but a couple things happened. Like so. His wife hit me up about that. He didn't. He wouldn't have. It's not who he is. And asked if I would share it. And I was like, yeah, give me time because I post shit regularly. So I wanted it to have its own breath in between shit. So I posted it. I donated, of course. And then the moment I did, then I got an email that somebody I work with, his daughter is going through fucking open heart surgery this week, her second one. And and he's going up to Philly for that, and he didn't understand it. Somebody else did, but he needed help with hotels and all this shit. So then I was like, God damn, bloody, why don't we spread out the bad news a little bit? Let my donation, but then so I donated to him, and it's just like the cost, it's like the cost benefit of having. Of just knowing a lot of people, you know what I mean? And I'm
by percentage wise,
and I'm always like, if anybody is out there and it's going, some shit I have to do, and I said this on the Zoom, but I have to do like I hate that I have to do it, but like I get hit up a lot about shit like that, so I got to kind of look through it because I can't do it for everybody,
Yeah, it's too much bad news.
It's because you bleed the well dry, and I do like that we turn out when it's time, but like. I've had people be like, hey, I want to have some teeth surgery done. My teeth really hurt. Can you? And I'm like, man, I wish you the best, and
thoughts and prayers.
I'll send some thoughts and prayers.
Some likes and
shares, but I can't push capital P this because at the moment I do, if somebody's like, oh man, help this guy's teeth out, then the next person might have a kid that dies, and now your teeth money's got that family, and so like it's a weird position for me to find myself in sometimes, but like I am glad that when I do pull the trigger on something, and I try to be, like only if it's like, man, these people really need help, in terms of sharing it. But I think that also there's a part of my job that's big on that too, and and there's something always going on there too, and sometimes I look at that like. You're gonna be okay.
Well, let me put it out there. If I'm ever in financial strait, don't do any of that for me. I will be mad if anyone did any GoFundMe or if it's me personally. Because it would just make me feel worse. Mm-hmm. I'd rather be in. I have no kids, right? I'd rather be in debt and just fucking die owing these motherfuckers money than having to have my friends or people that know me give me anything. Yeah. Everybody has their own. To me, everyone has needs. For themselves that I don't need. So,
well, you might be alive and mad at me. That's just the way it goes. I can handle it. Next one is from Astartes Pete. He says, hello, lovely boys. Hope you're good. I've finished 3 things this week of varying quality. The Acolyte. There's only so much bad before it passes what's funny. I was laughing at how bad it was, but I have limits. Spoilers, the worst bit for me is they clearly want to explain Anakin's creation, so they've learned nothing. Star Wars is always at its worst when it's trying to explain away the mystery and the magic. Just stop it. Fair. Yeah. The Boys. Still great, but agree the series didn't hit the same. Being across the pond, the political aspect is less on the nose, but it's lost some of the clever consistency it had. The V'd up killer sheep were also kind of silly, didn't care for it. The final series looks set up to be great, given everything is falling apart, but I'm not 100% convinced they'll stick to the landing. Here's hoping. Hey, as we say on Nerd Rage, it's hard to close.
Yep.
I've also finished Shadow of the Erd Tree, the DLC for Elden Ring.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. You finished it, means you have the skills for it. Or the patience.
Which was freaking amazing from start to finish. The final boss was incredible, but mental. I'd love to say I triumphed through skill, my intimate knowledge of the game and its mechanics, but I didn't. After many an abject failure, I gloriously hid behind a giant shield and poked him to death with a pointy stick.
Hey, that works. Whatever works.
Overall, massively challenging and infinitely rewarding. What's the hardest game you've ever played? Did you finish it? And have you ever had a game rage moment? Oh my God. So I don't know if there's ever been a game where I have not had a game rage moment. Yeah. I'm kind of quick to rage. I'm quick to turn up. But I think like I found that Last of Us game like immensely challenging.
Really?
Before, remember we had a whole conversation.
Yeah, you didn't want to turn down that.
I didn't want to turn it down the difficulty. But I found it immensely challenging.
More challenging than like some older games.
No. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for the original Nintendo is the most challenging game I've ever played in my life.
That's what I'm saying. Like the hardest games are not the new games. No. Are the games that no one's ever beat.
My biggest rage is 100% Street Fighter 2 and Bison.
Oh yeah, it cheats.
Dude,
it reads your input.
My brother has caught black eyes. Controllers have been broken. Like I would lose that shit and punch him in his face because I was so fucking mad.
Oh my God. And we say Dante's unhinged.
Yeah. I mean, I was really young, but yeah, I was. That shit fucking just pissed me off.
Well, did you have what system did you have?
Super Nintendo.
Okay, because the good thing you didn't have a Genesis because that shit was a boomerang. That controller was aerodynamic as fuck. That thing was meant to be thrown.
Yeah. You guys, anything stand out?
I don't know. If a game frustrates me too much, I will just disengage.
There's a level of it, man.
I don't, especially at this point in my life, I don't have the time or patience to play something I'm not enjoying.
It needs to be challenging enough to keep your attention without being too challenging where it's not fun.
Right.
The problem for game developers is people have different skill sets.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, some people are very good.
Right.
And some people not very good.
Right.
So
and I will try to play most games at whatever the default difficulty is.
That's what I do, except for Last of Us.
But if it's a game that I think I'll like, but it's just beating my ass, I'll just put it on easy. I don't care.
Yeah.
Or if it's a game I just want to know the story too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
that's like The Last of Us. It's about the story.
I struggle. I can't. Too much pride. But for me,
for yourself, you can't lie to yourself.
Nobody will know.
I'll know. That's the most important. There's another level on Donkey Kong. The most recent Donkey Kong on I think it was a Switch, but it was like a Winter Island or some shit. There's one of those levels where you gotta get in this barrel and go through this fucking thing, and like, dude, you like, I bruised my leg.
Punching yourself.
I was so mad, and I didn't know what to do. I just sat down and just started punching my thigh. My kids are looking at me like I'm nuts, and I fucking bruised my whole leg, like tore it up.
Yeah, old fighting game bosses. Like Bison's notable. Shao Kahn was not.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it was the hammer.
Yeah,
it's hammer time.
But you could go to Molina and just do the drop kick over and over and over again, and he couldn't stop it.
Yeah,
he could only block it, and it still took away energy.
It took your time, but it took his life.
Yep.
Yeah. Most things that always frustrates me is like self-induced because like if I like a game, I like to 100 and including all the challenges.
Yeah, same.
And that's the hard part. Is like I can beat this race, but to beat the best time. Like you make one small mistake and you're gonna lose the best time, and I get pissed at myself. Like, and I started fucking I haven't punched myself in long, but I have just punched my hand like stupid, and it doesn't help, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't help you play again.
No, it doesn't help you play better, but it helps get that energy out.
But I got punched my stupid fucking thumb.
I want to feel the physical pain that my pride feels.
But then your thumb's fucked, and you can't fucking play it. Yeah,
there was also a couple of like Riddler puzzles. In Arkham
with the batarang thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Some of those I had to let go.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
where I was like, man, this is like when I start.
It's bonus, so you don't have to get all of them.
When I start talking out loud, it started.
Oh, you son of a bitch!
It's not fair. I'm
cheating.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not fair. I'll like say it like that, like
to the machine.
That there's like some godly force that will come down and handles justice.
The video game gods.
We got a letter from BJ. He says, "Hello, Knights of the Speak and Spell Table. I hope you guys are doing well. My thoughts and prayers to Gamez. I hope he's feeling better. I just finished watching The Acolyte and have to wonder if the show creator is a Nerd Rage fan. There's a 7-foot-tall heroic character with some wild off-the-ropes moves. Then there's a muscular Asian gentleman who works in a pharmacy. And I swear Darth Plagueis must have just returned from his daughter's softball practice before peeking out of that cave to see who got their coffee first."
Oh, perfect.
I think the show is okay. It reminded me a lot more of recent Star Wars comics, which are also mostly okay. I stopped keeping up with them a while back. The only comic I still religiously read every month is Larry Hama's G.I. Joe. Even though it really hasn't been that good for a long time, I'm still loyal to it, I guess. Are there any comics in particular that you guys still read despite them not being as great as they used to be? And if so, why? Not really. But if I had to choose, it would be Batman. Like every now and then I'll pick up a modern, like in continuity Batman trade just to sort of check in on the character, see like what's going on, what's in the mix. I'll be like, man, this motherfucker's got 3 more motherfuckers on his crew now, and I don't know any of them. But just like check the temperature.
The most least loner of self-proclaimed loners ever. Batman is
100%.
And I'm a loner. I work by myself. Meanwhile, you have like a team of 18,
which I also love because he also is building the family that he always wanted, and then also tries to lie to himself that he hates it. But like I think for me, it's just about seeing like I just love the character, and I don't ever want to be completely ignorant to. It's almost like a kid. You know what I mean? It's like
fuck up.
Like
you were checking to make sure
they
they're still alive.
They grow up. They go off on their own. You don't need to watch them anymore as closely as you do, but you still want to check in and make sure they're doing okay every once in a while. And I think that's what I do with Batman. And most of the time, I'm disappointed these days, but I still check in. Ever since that Grant Morrison, that shit where they killed Batman R.I.P., where they didn't kill him, they sent him back in time through Omega beams. It's never felt right to me since then. But that's me. You guys, anybody?
I have in my mind what I want to do and what I actually do are not the same things. So I've been complaining about Battle Chasers not coming out for literally 20 plus years.
Yep.
And after 6 years of promising to produce the final 3, I believe, arc, it came out I think earlier this year. I haven't read them. Because it's not what I wanted. Because he didn't, motherfucker did not.
Oh, that's right.
Did not fulfill his promise.
That's right. It was a GoFundMe, right, or something. It
was Kickstarter, which is fine. It was part of it because it came with a game. But he didn't. He ended up after years of not putting it out, not fulfilling his promise again. He fulfilled it by not fulfilling. He got someone else to draw it. Like that.
It's not what you wanted.
You just lied to us for the last 20 something years.
Yeah.
So like I want to know the story, I guess, because I mean it's still the same writer, and I love these characters, even though it's very short. It's just angry, it's just painful.
Right.
I don't enjoy it. Like this is just gonna make me more angry about the whole situation.
Right.
And but I do want to, but I have not. I know Darkness and Witchblade just rebooted. And
yes.
I bought into that Kickstarter too, and I do want to get into that. But
again,
I have not.
I also should say, I mean, it's not a comic book, but Star Wars is that for me in general now, where it's like I don't really care anymore. They've taken it all away from me. It's bigger than me, obviously, but I still just to know as much as I can, with few exceptions because I haven't watched Bad Batch. But like, I still watch it. I still to kind of keep tabs on it, but. It hurts more than it feels good.
Yes, right? It's like, ugh.
Yeah. Anything for you?
I mean, just kind of similar. I'll check in with lines every now and again. Usually it's something I get through like Hoopla app or whatever, so what's on there. Like
Hibbity Hoopla.
Yeah, like I jumped
Do you remember that?
And read
it was like it was in the 8 Mile movie. He's like, oh, Hibbity Hoopla.
Yeah, I jumped in on some Batman stuff, read like a Joker miniseries arc, and that was fine. Again, it was, so many Bat people I'd never seen before, but whatever.
Yeah.
That was fine. And I dipped in on some Spider-Man stuff here a little while ago. I dipped in on that Vader comic for a while. I don't know. I read it until I lose interest, and then I go, all right, something else. I just need something to read at night to fall asleep.
Speaking, I don't know why, but speaking of 8 Mile, I just I just saw this rap battle clip pop up, and it's by that dude. I always forget his name, so I probably shouldn't even say it. But he passed away, and he was great. He's funny as hell. And if you look up, he was part of this thing called the Compliment Battle that you should look up. It's fucking fantastic. High recommend for me. But it's these two guys just talking nice about each other. And like,
yes,
it's fucking amazing. I got 4 words for you, you little hunk. Father of the Year. But anyway, he.
Eminem had didn't he have a big week?
He had an album. He had an album.
Didn't he top Taylor Swift?
Yes.
Broke her streak or some shit. I'm not in it. And even that, I see it on my fucking feed.
Yes, but Taylor didn't perform the same way because of that Drake Kendrick thing. Also, that kind of took the nation by storm. But it's been interesting. I didn't care for the Eminem record, but I did listen to it. This battle, he was talking. This guy was talking to this other guy. This guy was like extremely funny, and he was like, you know what I hate most about this guy? How clammy his hands is. And he was like, I'm telling you, it's wet and cold from the tips of his finger down to the wrist. He comes in for a handshake. I go in with a fist. Boom, trucker's hitch. He was funny as shit. He passed away. I think he was trying to break up a fight that was going on outside of a club in Canada.
Oh gosh!
Ended up getting stabbed in the process and died.
That sucks.
But he was incredible talent. Anyway, last one from Pummy Bear.
Bouncing here and there.
Hello, chums. Big fans of the nerding and the raging. My question is inspired by that Amazon bloke and his Rings of Power show he made just because he wanted to. I believe those to be the details, but I could be wrong as I don't know the guy personally. You have an unlimited budget to create any form of media you want: film, TV series, song, album, game, book, podcast, interview, comic, documentary, whatever you fancy. You pick who's singing, writing, acting, drawing, directing, producing, starring. You can pick anybody, as everybody has a price. Am I right, Pinkerton? Since you're paying for it, you can choose how involved in the project you are. Caveat being, it has to be something made now with people who are alive now and the stage of living they're at right now. Mine, for the rolling of the ball, a proper continuation of the War for Cybertron Fall of Cybertron game series.
Yeah, take out that last fucking game. That last fucking game that was just a movie tie-in.
I just fund it, put all the same people back in charge, pay Hasbro for the license, tell them to fuck off, and let the crack team go to work. I'd remaster the first 2 games too. There's somebody talking on the Zoom call that there might be a return of those games. That they did you hear that? Somebody was talking about it. They just came back out on mobile, and it looks like there might be new life in that franchise.
Yeah, I remember somebody mentioning that, but I haven't seen anything about
it. Answer the question with or without the caveat, or both ways. Who am I to tell you what to do? So I may not So it makes me think of Transformers because of that. I'd love to see an animated series based off of IDW, specifically IDW Phase 2. Up until Combiner Wars, like that era of IDW. I would love it. I would also love to see someone tackle a Transformers animated show that took place between, I've said this all the time, between season 2 in 1985 up until the movie in 2005. So that 20-year range. Like, how did the Autobots end up on the moon bases? How did Megatron and them get control of Cybertron in the way that they do? Like, all of that stuff. How did it come to be? I would love to see that. Outside of that, what I want is a Flight of Dragons live action HBO series done in the spirit of Game of Thrones.
Not a Star Wars reboot, but
no, I'm done with it. Yeah.
You could just make your own thing. All right, we're erasing episode 9. This, like they try to do with Superman.
Yeah.
Superman Returns or some shit.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna make this new movie series. That's gonna be the new 9, and then on. Everything else, fuck them.
Yep. And I'd love to see. The rest of the Snyder vision for the DC universe. Like, specifically that Darkseid War was supposed to be next, and everything that was supposed to lead into that with the lanterns and everything else. Like, I would have loved to have seen whatever the conclusion of that vision was. And I would just hire him back, and same thing. Instead of telling Hasbro to get out the way, I would tell Warner Brothers to get out the way. You guys?
I would. This one is unnecessary. This one is just because I'm a huge fan. I would like a live action movie series, I guess. Or a live action long form retelling of Final Fantasy VII. This is one of my favorite.
I'd be in for that.
Like the whole thing, like including, because there's a lot of spin-offs that are canon, like prequels and like all of it.
I'd be in for that.
Give me like the movies as the main line, and then TV series as the side stories, which is like how the game goes. That was what I would. And 2 is I would like for Magic the Gathering, the good old times, what up until a few years ago, that storyline to be adapted into, I don't care if it's animated, 3D, live action. I think it's a story worth telling to the mass audience.
That's fair.
Centering on Liliana.
Just take it as it comes.
Yeah, it's whatever.
More X-Men 97.
Yeah,
it's so good.
I do want more of that.
So if you want to write a question, wrong pads again. Sorry. It's nerdrageradiomail@gmail.com. I'll get the pads right next week. Maybe I won't.
Tune in to find out.
Shout out to Pinkerton, who couldn't be here today, still on assignment. Shout out to Phil on our notes and on Twitter, and shout out to Dante on Facebook and everybody else. Shout out to you, Jordan, for coming through. And
my pleasure.
Good times, man.
Yeah, hopefully next week we'll all be back, but who knows? Take it as
you never know.
Never know.
Tune in to find out.
Tune in to find out. And with that,
Flappy Labius.
Bursting bladders.
Tight dick player. I feel like that one might be on the nose for how you feel at the moment.